अभिनंदन, सुस्वागतम। सभागार में जो भी खड़े हैं सबसे निवेदन है, हम हमारे कार्यक्रम की शुरुआत करने जा रहे हैं। कृपया अपना स्थान ग्रहण कर लें। अपनी मातृभूमि कर्म भूमि को नमन करते हुए, साथ ही अपने आराध्य का स्मरण करते हुए हम आज के कार्यक्रम की शुरुआत करने जा रहे हैं। मैं अध्यक्ष महोदय D.C.Gupta जी से, अशोक जी अजमेरा से, आनंद प्रकाश जी गुप्ता से निवेदन करता हूं कि वो आज के हमारे वक्ता आनंद जी राठी, श्रीमान पूनमिया जी, तुलसियान जी एवं हमारे मुख्य अतिथि सुंदररामन राममूर्ति जी को लेकर दीप प्रज्वलन के लिए आगे आए। धन्यवाद। मैं निवेदन करता हूं आप कृपया डायस पे, हमारे आज के अतिथि लोग डायस पे अपना स्थान ग्रहण करें। हमारे मुख्य अतिथि मुंद्रा जी भी पधार गए हैं। आपका हार्दिक स्वागत है। आज के कार्यक्रम की विधिवत शुरुआत कर रहे हैं।
टिब्रेवाल जी को बुलाइए ना। टिब्रेवाल
ऋतुराज जी टिब्रेवाल,
कहाँ है?
रतिराज जी टिब्रेवाल, प्लीज।
अरे आपको लैंप लाइटिंग के लिए भी आना था यार।
आप सभी से निवेदन करूंगा। क्या
यार, आप एजेंडा देखो ना।
मेरा एजेंडा है। मैं आप सभी से निवेदन करूंगा, 1 मिनट के लिए अपने स्थान पर खड़े हो जाइए। हम नेशनल एंथम से आज का कार्यक्रम शुरू कर रहे हैं।
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा, विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा, तव शुभ नामे जागे, तव शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाहे तव जय गाथा, जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
अजीत एंड राजेंद्र जी, आप इसमें आइए ना इधर प्लीज। अजीत यू गो दिस साइड।
मैं हमारे अध्यक्ष महोदय श्री D.C.Gupta जी से निवेदन करूंगा कि वो यहाँ आकर अपना स्वागत उद्बोधन प्रस्तुत करेंगे।
अंतर्राष्ट्रीय वैश्य महासम्मेलन आज के इस बजट चर्चा कार्यक्रम में आमंत्रित मुख्य अतिथि श्री S.S. मुंद्रा जी, सम्मानीय अतिथि श्री सुंदररामन राममूर्ति जी, मंच पर आसीन मेरे साथी पदाधिकारी गण, महामंत्री राजेंद्र मालपानी जी, आज के विषय पर प्रमुख वक्ता विशेषज्ञ श्री आनंद जी राठी, श्री SP तुलसियान जी, श्री विमल जी पूनिया, आज के कार्यक्रम के संयोजक श्री अशोक जी अजमेरा, यहाँ उपस्थित IVF मुंबई प्रदेश समिति सदस्य, आप सभी का आज के कार्यक्रम में हृदयपूर्वक स्वागत, अभिनंदन। इस सभागृह में उपस्थित महानगर के प्रबुद्ध श्रोतागण, आप सभी का भी हार्दिक स्वागत, अभिनंदन। यह कार्यक्रम हम निरंतर पिछले 15 वर्षों से आयोजित करते आ रहे हैं। पिछले 2 वर्षों से कोविड की वजह से ये हम प्रत्यक्ष रूप से नहीं कर पाए थे। हमने ये बजट विश्लेषण जूम एवं यूट्यूब के माध्यम से किया था, जिसका बहुत अच्छा प्रतिसाद रहा, देखने को मिला था। लगभग 1000 से भी अधिक लोगों ने इसका लाभ लिया था। अंतर्राष्ट्रीय वैश्य महासम्मेलन पूरे विश्व में वैश्य समाज की प्रतिनिधि संस्था है। यह कई माध्यमों से सामाजिक, आर्थिक विषयों के साथ ही सर्वजन हिताय कार्यक्रमों को क्रियान्वित करती है। बजट प्रतिवर्ष 1 फरवरी को घोषित होता है। इसका हम सभी पर प्रत्यक्ष या अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से प्रभाव होता है। हमारे आज के वक्ता अपने अपने क्षेत्र में विशिष्ट प्रभाव रखते हैं। वे आज बजट विश्लेषण को सरल भाषा में आप तक साझा करेंगे। आने वाला वित्त वर्ष आप सभी के लिए मंगलमय हो। आप सभी को अग्रिम शुभकामनाएं। आप सभी का पुनः हार्दिक स्वागत, अभिनंदन। आगे इस कार्यक्रम को संचालित करने के लिए कार्यक्रम संयोजक श्री अशोक जी अजमेरा से निवेदन करता हूं कि वो आए।
धन्यवाद अध्यक्ष महोदय। आगे कार्यक्रम की श्रृंखला में हम हमारे आज के विशिष्ट अतिथि और विशेष अतिथि उन सबका स्वागत करेंगे। मैं DC गुप्ता साहब से निवेदन करूंगा कि हमारे जो विशिष्ट अतिथि हैं श्री मुंद्रा साहब, उनका पुष्पगुच्छ से स्वागत करेंगे। मैं अशोक जी अजमेरा से निवेदन करूंगा कि वो श्री सुंदररामन राममूर्ति जी का पुष्पगुच्छ द्वारा स्वागत करेंगे। मेरे अग्रज आनंद जी यहाँ हैं, तो ये अधिकार मैं लेना चाहूंगा आनंद जी का। मैं आनंद प्रकाश जी गुप्ता से निवेदन करूंगा, वो श्री SP तुलसियान जी का पुष्पगुच्छ द्वारा स्वागत करेंगे। हमारे IVF के वरिष्ठ सदस्य श्री विभास जी खाटू, उनसे निवेदन है कि वो श्री विमल जी पूनमिया का पुष्पगुच्छ द्वारा स्वागत करें। मैं दिलीप जी माहेश्वरी से निवेदन करूंगा, वो यहाँ आकर रतिराज जी टिब्रेवाल चॉइस इंटरनेशनल के प्रतिनिधि हैं यहाँ पे, उनका पुष्पगुच्छ द्वारा स्वागत करेंगे। धन्यवाद। आपके बीच में अब मैं ज्यादा समय नहीं लेना चाहूंगा। आगे की कार्यवाही के लिए मैं अशोक जी अजमेरा से निवेदन करूंगा कि वो कृपया आगे की कार्यवाही शुरू करें।
Thank you, Rajendra ji. Good evening, friends. Chief guest of the function, BSE Chairman and the former Deputy Director Reserve Bank of India, Shri Mundra ji, newly appointed MD and CEO of the Bombay Stock Exchange BSE, Shri Sundararaman ji, all the three esteemed speakers, Anand ji, Tulsian ji, Vimal ji, our sponsor, you will say, or supporter organization, Choice के representative Tibrewal ji, my own President of IVF Gupta ji, and our Secretary General Rajendra Malpani, many of you esteemed guests, many PDGs of the Rotary Club, Rotary District 3141, many Rotarians, many of the other organizations representatives who have been invited here, all the esteemed guests, and my fellow citizens. It gives me a great pleasure and privilege to welcome you all at this evening. And as was told to you, today we are assembled for the analysis of the Union Budget 23-24 to unfold the provisions. And what better panel we could have had than our esteemed speakers here this evening. The budget, again I would say, is mind-blowing. One of the largest allocations, highest amount on the revenue spending and the capital spending. The budget which is giving boost to the infrastructure, to the growth of the country. The budget which has brought lot of changes for the benefit of middle class in the even income tax rates also. I will not go into the detail because we have the experts to explain everything about the economy, about the impact of the budget on finance, about the impact of the budget on the capital market, and also most important subject for many of you, the direct taxation. So without taking much of your time, I would like to introduce our guest of honor this evening, Shri Sundararaman Ramamurthy, who is a highly motivated leader and consistent performer with a successful track record of 38 years and the strong passion to lead a financial institution and motivate teams in furthering the business, governance and control. He is the cost accountant and a member of Indian Institute of Bankers along with being a Bachelor of Science. His diverse experience in the Indian financial markets and banking system includes leading large and complex multidisciplinary teams, stakeholder management, high corporate governance standards, strong interface with the technology in innovation, organizational development and motivation, and business excellence, to name a few. You may read some more here. Shri Sundararaman, until recently, was the MD and CEO of Indian arm of Bank of America, where his responsibility included global governance and control of the banking entity in India and the securities segment, which is most important. He was also a part of the various board leadership forums at Bank of America. With 20 years of work experience at the National Stock Exchange, and I can endorse it at all the senior positions because in the early days of the National Stock Exchange, I was a committee member of many of the committees of the National Stock Exchange, including the Committee on Settlement Issues and Dispute Resolution Committee, and we worked together in those days at a very senior member of NSE team since its inception. He was responsible for significant transformation of the Indian capital markets for over 2 decades. He has also worked with leading public sector banks in the past, IDBI, SBI and Indian Overseas Bank. With this, Mr. Sundararaman, may I request you to kindly give a few words of wisdom. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers on the dais, Mundra ji, Rathi Sahab, Gupta ji, Ajmera Sahab, Tulsian ji, and others. I need to thank for 2 things here. For a very long description of mine, probably many of you felt it is too long of me, and thanks for that good introduction. And second is, thanks for having me here and giving me this opportunity to address you all. India is known for its Arthashastra, right? Which is, you can call it as political science or management of economics, whatever you call it. Great wisdom on this branch has flown in through centuries into India. And this exchange, which is the oldest exchange in Asia and in this august place which has seen a lot of activity in the past, we getting an opportunity to talk something about budget, which has a lot of implication in finance and economics. I think it's a great honor showered on me. Thanks for this to the organizers IVF. While policies do get notified throughout the year, budget has been a very important exercise for many of us, and it is always listened to with a lot of passion and a lot of expectations. So come every year when it is the budget day, most of us get glued to the TV screens and try to understand what is in it for me. For a nation's growth, as an outsider and as a simple common man, I feel there are three engines which are required for firing to take it through developmental situations. One is a consumption-led growth. Second is a FPI-led growth. Third is export-led growth. If some policy announcement is trying to have some portion of it for all these three, I feel that it is a great effort to fuel, to make all the three engines of growth run in its full steam. Today I got a feeling probably the budget 2023 is in that direction, probably addressing all these three requirements of fueling the engines. I find this budget as a continuation of the earlier budgets, which have successfully guided India. Today we are talking about becoming a 26 trillion economy and 10 trillion, 7 trillion with various timelines and deadlines. Notwithstanding the pandemic, India's growth has progressed unhindered thanks to every one of the people. In terms of growth focus, I found that this budget has a lot with MSME, infrastructure development, which all fuel economic development, ease of doing business, which attracts foreign participation and domestic capital creation, green energy, social responsibility basically, tourism, custom duty rationalization for improving exports, and last but not the least, a smile on the common man's face by reducing the tax and increasing consumption. So the point with which I started, the three engines of growth, in a nutshell, if I have to say, I feel this is how the budget exercise has sort of focused on all these three. That's how I look at it. A heightened capex of 13.7 trillion rupees, which good amount of money for public transport, railways, affordable housing schemes, all that clearly indicates the vision for a greater, bigger, larger, newer India. I'm sure this will also boost private sector investments, spur employment generation, and therefore as stock exchanges, I think we will have even more an important role to play in the coming days. I do not want to take more time of yours and prevent you from listening to the expert opinions, which are all going to come very soon to you and make you understand the budget better. Overall, I feel the hallmark of the budget is doing all the spurring of development without compromising on the fiscal prudence is great. That's how I look at it. The fiscal deficit numbers have all been retained within the planned levels, which I think is a great achievement. With these few words, I conclude my speech and thank once again for this opportunity and wish you all the great success in the life together in future and more investments through BSE in the coming days. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mr. Sundararaman. Yes, we started on a very, very optimistic note, and I don't know what the experts have in store. But yes, deficit financing is definitely has been brought in within control. With this, we go to our next, that is the chief guest of this evening, Shri Mundra ji. I think most of you know Mundra ji because he was very famous. Anyway, I'll read it out a little bit. You can read it here also. In a banking career spanning over 4 decades, Mr. Mundra has held several important positions in the banking industry, including the chairman and managing director of Bank of Baroda, executive director of Union Bank of India. He retired as the deputy governor of Reserve Bank of India on 30th July 2017 after completing a stint of 3 years. Mr. Mundra was also the vice chair of OECD's International Network of Financial Education. I am cutting it down a little bit than what is written here. Presently, Mr. Mundra is serving on the board of several companies as independent director and non-executive chairman on the board of the India Bull Housing Finance Limited and BSE India Limited. He is also on various advisory committees and boards such as Global Risk Advisory Committee of PayU Global, Netherlands, India Advisory Board of the MasterCard, and on the governing board of IMT Ghaziabad, to name a few. Mr. Mundra has been a regular presence as a speaker on various forums. He has delivered more than 100 speeches and presentations of diverse issues relating to banking and finance in both domestic and international forums. Many of these speeches have been published on the websites of the Reserve Bank of India on regular basis and that of the Bank of International Settlements. MIT University has conferred the degree of doctorate, Doctor of Philosophy, PhD Phil, honorary doctorate upon Mr. Mundra in recognition of his services in the field of banking and related areas. With this, may I request Mundra Sahab to kindly come forward and give your keynote speech as the chief guest of the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ajmera, for your kind words. Good evening, all the dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. First of all, let me apologize for being delayed. Mumbai traffic has become as unpredictable as global economy, and I wish it becomes as predictable as Indian economy. Let me begin with by complimenting International Waste Federation Mumbai chapter for organizing this event every year, which is looked upon it with a lot of eagerness, and is remarkable that now it has been happening for more than a decade. Also, thanks for inviting me here and giving an opportunity to share my thoughts. I think venue also could not have been better than this, in this International Convention Center of BSE, where you can not only hear the analysis about the budget, but you can feel the vibration, how the budget is impacting the market. In the very live feed you are sitting here. So, to say that the Sensex is a barometer of Indian economy, I think that perspective is not a misplaced statement. I am sure that all of you are here in a mood which can be described ranging from relief to jubilant. But certainly it is not a mood of disappointment, as many were fearing. I think it has been a budget which has generally been welcomed by all with a positive note. And I think with those fears about the capital gain tax, something is happening, or in personal taxation, nothing is happening, both the fears are behind us. So I think all of us could be at least happy for that. Now, I am not an expert in the market. We have a panel of experts who are sitting here and who would be talking about the budget, various nuances, what is written but not said and what is said but not written and all those kind of things. But to my mind, this panel of experts, they have two tasks before them. Many doubts must be lingering in your mind still. So it is their task to remove those doubts. Also at the same time, their task is to plant certain additional doubts in your mind, which you might not have thought about it, and it will give you something to think about. So I am sure I am as eager as you to listen to all of them. But having said that, I think there are few points I would like to dwell upon. One, and if I look in the larger macro perspective, one very clear shift which I see in the successive budget in last few years, which I call as to flexibility about the 3 and 4. Now, you would be wondering what is 3 and 4. So when I say 3, I am talking about the fiscal deficit target. Because, there used to be that the target maximum fiscal deficit is 3%. And when I talk about 4, I am taking it to the monetary policy, where the 4% was the, inflation targeting, which was kept. So 3 and 4. So what I am trying to say, there had been flexibility in successive budget around this 3 and 4 in the sense that 3% fiscal deficit doesn't remain sacrosanct provided deficit is created for financing the creating the productive capacity. So if you are creating the deficit, but it is not for revenue expenditure, not for your day-to-day expenditure, but creating the capacity, I think that is a pragmatic viewpoint which has come. And similarly, there had been a preparedness in monetary policy to not to be too much, worried about sticking to 4% at any cost, as long as it is supporting the growth. So to some sense, I think it reflects the growing confidence of the economy, of our economic managers, and also conveying a clear message that India would be doing business at its own terms. So that is something which shows the renewed confidence of the country. And you can see a reflection in the budget. The fiscal deficit target as was projected is retained at 6.4. We are talking about taking it to 5.9 in the next year and maybe 4.5 by 25-26. If we look at what is very important, GDP growth estimate for FY24 in budget is kept at 10.5, which is 0.5% less than what yesterday you saw in the economic survey. This shows the pragmatism. And then, when you are starting with the point of 10.5, obviously the revenue projections would be woven around that. So despite all that, despite all those revenue projections, still the market borrowing looks very disciplined. I think these are all very, very positive indicators for the market. To my mind, the budget has given 4 broad themes. One is, of course, around the infrastructure, a 33% increase in outlay, which is becoming 3.3% of GDP, moving from 1.7% a couple of years back, almost double to 3.3%. I think this will be an engine of growth which will have a virtuous impact of many other sectors of the economy. Other thing which is mentioned is about increasing the layout of agriculture credit to 20 lakh crore. Normally, this pronouncement is seen with a lot of skepticism because it is seen like, just a forced credit. But when I was listening to the finance minister, what she mentioned, giving more emphasis on the ancillary sector, tertiary sector around the agriculture, so like dairy or the poultry or the fisheries or other those capacity creation. Now, this is, if it is implemented efficiently, it will have a very, very, I would say, beneficial impact, because then it translates into the augmentation of income of the farmers, and which adds to the consumption story of India, which is already growing strong. Third, of course, I won't go into the detail because these people are sitting here, but the whole green, around the green theme, a lot of pronouncements, a lot of measures are taken, and finally, the continuing push towards the ease of business. So I think these are the broad theme. I won't take much of your time, but coming back from budget to the individual, I remember I read a saying somewhere that love looks through the telescope and the jealousy looks through the microscope. Now you would be wondering what is the relevance of love and telescope and microscope in this budget speech. What I am trying to say, when they say love looks through the telescope, means you see the things which are far very near to your heart. That is a love. And microscope means even the small flaws are magnified and you look them at critically. So what I am trying to say, while we are discussing the budget, but as an individual investor, when you look at the budget, look through the telescope. When you are looking for the individual company, look through the microscope. Because economy doing well or a sector doing well is no guarantee that every entity under the economy or under the sector would be doing well. So I think it will do good to remember the telescope and microscope while making the investment decision. Other thing may not be immediately in the context, but since experts are here, little bit about the derivative market. I think you must have read only last week, even the regulators are expressing concern that when the retail investors are entering into the derivative market and 9 out of 10 end up losing the money, the ratio between cash and derivative market in India is highest in the world. So I think these are certain points which need to be pondered. As long as everyone is happy, I think no one gets concerned, but the problem comes when bubble bursts. So that is there. Finally, my request to the expert when they are talking here, when I was looking at the taxation proposal, I saw a lot of positive things. Maybe couple of things which of course will impact only very limited person. But like the provision of investing the capital gain tax above 10 crore is now taxable if you are investing into the residential property. So I think it was unlimited, but now it has been restricted to 10 crore. And similarly, when I was listening to and reading the small print, same is the position with the high premium insurance policies, where when the policy maturity is coming back, it completely used to be the tax exempted. I think now there are tax provisions are there. So always it happens with the budget. First impression is always when you look at the headlines, then you start looking at the fine print. So it's a good thing that you have the budget in the morning and you have this session in the evening, enough time for the experts to go through the fine print and then enlighten us here on those. So thank you very much with that, and thanks for patiently listening to me.
Thanks a lot, Mundra ji. 3-4 formula and so many things, and very, very learned person he is. He was a former Deputy Director of Reserve Bank of India. And in fact, he should have been as one of the speaker in the panel on the budget. But anyway, as a chief guest, his time allotted was comparatively less than what is allotted to the speakers. But he had a lot of weight in whatever he spoke. Thank you, sir. The next one is our first speaker on this panel, and who does not know him in this hall? Anybody who is connected with stock market or BSE knows this gentleman here, a gold medalist chartered accountant of 1966. As I have to say, Anand Rathi ji. 1966, is presently the chairman of Anand Rathi Group. Anand Rathi is a leading financial services company in India with all India presence, founded in 1994. In fact, when the National Stock Exchange came in for the equity market in existence, Anand Rathi has grown to become one of India's leading financial services companies, offering a wide range of services from investment service across asset class to private wealth, institutional equities, investment banking, insurance broking, and NBFC, and many more. Mr. Rathi was the president of Bombay Stock Exchange, where we are all sitting in, and I'm standing here this evening, for 2 years, from April 1999 to 2001. He played a very important and key role in setting up the online trading platform of BSE, Trade Guarantee Fund, and Central Depository Services Limited, CDSL. BSE had the honor of hosting during his days, look at his charisma, the President Bill Clinton of USA, Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and many more other dignitaries during his tenure as the President. Before establishing his own company, Mr. Rathi was a senior president in Indian Rayon and Industries, Aditya Birla's companies, and had set up Birla Global Finance and Birla Mutual Fund, financial services business of Aditya Birla Group. Then, he was a member of the Central Council of, he is a member of course, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, but he was a member of Central Council of Indian Institute of Chartered Accountants of India during 1985-1991. He is a member of Managing Committee of IMC. He has been a regular speaker on various platforms. He is associated with various social and philanthropic organizations and is the chairman of Brahma Savitri Ved Vidyapit Pushkar, a social teaching Yajurveda to around 125 students. With this, may I request Rathi ji to kindly please come forward and give your presentation, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashok. Respected Mundra Sahab, Shri Sundararaman Ramamurthy, MD of BSE, President of local branch of Indian International West Federation, Gupta ji, Shri Ashok Ajmera, the distinguished colleague speakers SP Tulsian ji and Vimal Punmiya, ladies and gentlemen. It's always a pleasure to come here, and when Ashok called me, I accepted for two reasons. Anything in BSE obviously is close to my heart, and anything in this hall is even closer to my heart. Because I had built this auditorium, this hall, for the visit of President Bill Clinton. And before that, this used to be a trading hall, when the outright system of trading was there. This used to be a hall of that. So when we invited President Bill Clinton to come here, I was worried where would we host him. And then I found this is the nicest place. Mundra ji, we built up the entire thing in 30 days. From that, at that time back in 2000. So 22 years back, it's still my colleagues who have helped in building, many of them are here. And secondly, International West Federation again. I've been a member of the Federation for more than 40 years now. So it's always nice, therefore, to come here and on the budget presentation, when talked to Ashok told me that I think you must talk more on the economy because I know we are better experts on the taxation and the markets. Not better than Tulsian ji se better kaun hoga, Vimal se better kaun hoga, to talk on their subject. And So I thought that we'll talk more about the economy. So before I talk about the impact of the budget on the economy, budget is a very important event and gives a direction in which the government wants to take the country. So, but before I talk of the impact, I think let me give little more background about the economy as such. Where are we today? So India is, as you all know, is the fastest growing major economy in the world and is continuing to be so as per IMF for next at least 4 or 5 years. So that's a heartening thing for us to know that after many years, we have become the largest, fastest growing economy. The second positive aspect which you have is while the world is going through very high level of inflation, in India, particularly now in last 2 years, because of the efforts which government has made over the years, our inflation has been below global average. And I think is now, we have seen that also our actual inflation has been more than many times what the even RBI had forecasted. Again, that's a great thing for there. There are so many more positives for India. I think I always believe that first thing positive, So first is that, our investment cycle has restarted now. Particularly, I am sure this budget, as you know, will add to that. Our finances, government finances, in terms of fiscal deficit is so well managed now. In spite of pandemic, which we have gone through, I think India is perhaps the only country where the fiscal has been managed so very well. Our private consumption is going up. Your banking system is very strong and as you might be aware, the NPAs in the banking system, Mundra ji would know better, has amongst the lowest. Now I think the gross NPAs have come down to 5%, which is very heartening. So we have a very robust banking system. We have a strong financial reserves, 570 billion, which is again a very big strength with us. However, the global issues will always impact any economy. Sorry. So global, situation, as we all are aware, I think that the global economy is going through very tough time. We are talking of recession in many countries, particularly in Europe. But the global growth is perhaps going to be lowest in 23 and not going to be very high in 24 as well. So as a result of that, our exports are suffering. We have seen that our trade deficit has been going up. The capital flows, particularly in the last 1.5 years, you have seen FI's huge outflows, more than I think 20 billion, outflow, which we have never seen before, has happened. The exchange rate, obviously, particularly dollar is becoming strong, while people feel that rupee has become very weak, but comparatively, rupee has still behaved far better than compared to most other emerging market currencies. The commodity prices have been very volatile, have gone through the roof earlier, now coming down, and the supply chain, particularly during pandemic, got disturbed, having impact on all the commodity prices and inflation. Besides global problem, obviously, we have some problem of our own. Okay. So, one that, we have always been having very high interest rate structure till at least about 2000, 2001. And then I think we have seen the changes. The RBI thinking has changed a lot. And we have now gone into the reasonably low interest, but still, I think, the interest rates have been raised in last 12 months and to contain the inflation. Our industries have been, production has slowed down during pandemic. The rural demand has been weaker, particularly in last few years. Our deposit growth have again slowed down. The cost pressures because of the high commodity prices have been there and therefore we are all aware that the corporate earnings are getting affected. The sentiments obviously get impacted when the world economy is not doing well. So this is the perspective in which the budget was to be done. And therefore, I think you know, what was the priority for the budget? So the first priority was how to bring the continued higher growth, both at the industry, services, the entire economy. How to stimulate the rural demand. How do we bring more support to MSME sector, because that's so important for our economy, and that has suffered so much during pandemic particularly. How do we provide more relief to middle class, because middle class is the strongest consuming class in any country, and India has such a strong middle class, so it was required. How do we then provide support for more investments? How do we bring budget in a way that it increases the investment? Also, how do we achieve higher investment through PLI and higher manufacturing capacities? You know, as you know that now India is becoming obviously a better choice, or at least a second choice for the global supplies after China's problem. So I think this was another. Then agriculture, though it has been doing reasonably well, but I think that's the heart of, you know, because the largest population of India lives in rural villages, is dependent on agriculture. So agriculture revolution, you know, the changes, the growth in agriculture is most important. And then also how to manage the fiscal deficit. These have been the challenges and priorities before the government for this budget. Now, how did this budget handle these priorities? How did they address these challenges? I think as far as growth is concerned, you know, we have seen the highest ever investment provision of 10 lakh crore in this budget for infrastructure, 2.4 lakh crores for railways, and all along, even in the housing, you know, PM Awas Yojana, 70,000 plus crores. So there has been a great focus. I think first time we have seen that more than 20% of the budget is on the capital expenditure. And as Mundra ji pointed out, you know, large part of GDP, now more than 3% of GDP is on the capital expenditure. For rural demand, I think what we may not be able to make out in numbers in agriculture, but if you listen to the finance minister carefully, lot of things are being done in the rural and agriculture sector. And financing, as Mundra also said, the amount of, you know, 20 lakh crore financing, I think that obviously is bound to increase. And lot of, you know, the changes which have been done in last few years to look at the soil testing, look at the right type of seeds for agriculture. I think though India is today one of the largest producers of, you know, grains and wheat, rice, but still there is a huge scope because we have the largest cultivable, you know, land in the world. So rural demand is has been pushed into this budget. Small industries and MSME, again we have seen that the budget has provided a lot of relief to them, even in respect of, you know, the contracts where the money is forfeited. It's a great step that government has decided that 95% would be returned back. On financing, the guarantee-based financing which has been provided, 9,000 crore provision has been made for that, and the government expects that more than 1 lakh crore, you know, non-collateral based credit would be available to SMEs. Then middle class, I think this is one of the finest budget. Vimal will be able to tell better, where the relief in tax has been given across the board. And also I think the new scheme of taxation which was brought, you know, I think that is very interesting, and I think if you can make 7-8 lakhs rupees without paying tax, I think that's great. The investment, you know, induction, obviously budget is going to push, because there's so much of public sector investment is coming. A lot of areas the finance minister said public-private partnership. And first time I heard also in the agriculture sector, the government is thinking of bringing public-private partnership. So obviously the private investment will come. The support to industry has been given, as you have seen. The agriculture, as we discussed, most important part was the fiscal deficit. That was always a worry. You know, during the current year, the subsidies on fertilizer has been so high. And in spite of that, I think the government has been able to contain deficit at 6.4%, which is remarkable. For the next budget, obviously, they're talking of 5.9%, which is good, and talking of 4.5% in next 2 years. So what is, if you look at the overall budget from the economic angle, you know our size of budget, gradually the government is trying to bring more and more to private sector. And the size of the budget compared to GDP is being reduced, which is, I think, the right thing to do. Now the size of the budget is about 16% of GDP, which used to be 18% earlier, even higher before that. The capital spending, now, as I mentioned earlier, 22% of the budget. I think we never had so much of budget provided for the capital expenditure in the economy. And even the percentage of the GDP has been one of the highest on the capex. The investment there is a focus to boost investment. There is debt, as mentioned, even was mentioned earlier. You know, it has been fiscal deficit is 5.9%, and the money raising by the government has been restricted to less than 12 lakh crores, which means that lot of savings, you know, when you reduce taxes, savings increase, and savings will go into the productive areas. And I'm sure equity market would be the biggest beneficiaries of this. The rural development is obviously, I think, with the budget. To my mind, this has been one of the finest budgets which I have seen, friends. I think in last my 55 years of working, this is the first budget where I've seen that there is a emphasis on every aspect of economy. It has been touched. I think more than data, if you listen to the speech, go through the speech, I think the amount of analysis which has been done of the problem areas which the economy is facing and solution to each one, there is address to each one of them has been addressed, you know, which may not come adequately in numbers, but I think, in my view, I think this has been one of the finest budget. If you look at the taxes collection, I think we all know that GST has been a great, I think, reform which has happened in the country. The speed at which GST is increasing. Similarly, the tax administration has become definitely more efficient, and both on direct and indirect taxes. Last year we had far more growth than even the budget had anticipated. More than 20% growth in the tax collection. And in this budget also, Finance Minister mentioned so many things about, you know, the tax administration. Again, Vimal will talk more on that. But I think that's a good sign. If the government is, you know, one of the challenge which we have in the economy is that how do we increase the percentage of revenue from taxes of the GDP, particularly of the direct taxes, which I think now has started going up. Hopefully, as this thing continues, it will further grow. Similar is the story of indirect taxes. GST, now excise obviously is mostly now only petroleum, but that's a significant amount. Custom duty, again, now, you know, the amount of changes which have been done are very welcome changes. So both in direct and indirect taxes, friends, I think the budget has given the right focus. Now, obviously, there are always great expectations. When budgets come, we all think, sabke liye kuch hona chahiye. Everybody should benefit. And this is one budget which I think makes everyone perhaps happier in some way or the other. Our tax, the way the budget has been done, I think, again, only 10% revenue receipt has been, we have seen that this government has been reasonably conservative in forecasting its revenue. Last year also, the revenues are higher than what they forecasted, and this year also. You see, with 10.5% nominal growth expected, with 6% growth and 4.5% inflation, the nominal growth is expected to be about 10.5%. So if you have taken a revenue growth of 10%, I think that's conservative. Not only reasonable, to my view, it is pretty conservative, and hopefully we will exceed much more. The direct taxes share now has gone up to, about 50%, more than 50%. That's great. The effective tax rate are now below the pre-pandemic levels. So again, the low tax, structure, which I think Finance Minister pointed out, and I'm glad that she looked at that our tax rate going about 40% was not a healthy move and has reduced the tax rate at least at the highest level. Hopefully, I think there is a case for reducing, bring it down like in corporate taxes. Once it has gone down to 25%, there is a huge growth in tax collection. Similar thing will happen, and I would feel definitely that government should gradually move towards the highest rate of 25% even on personal taxation. The deficit funding, as we said, the borrowings are almost same level as last year, which will allow, otherwise when the government borrows too much, one, obviously the interest cost of the government goes up. Second impact is the money available for private investments is less. So I think more money in the hands of people, decision of investing in the hands of people, I think is always a preferred one. And small savings are there. Of course, last year also the budget of target of small savings couldn't be completed. I think, because gradually now people are moving, people are becoming more, aware of the various avenues of investment. Particularly, I am glad to see that more money is flowing into the equity market, because obviously equity market has given the highest ever return in last 30-40 years history per se. So I think if we can bring more and more investments to this, savings to this market, that would be great. Now, I'll now touch base on what are the implications for the economy, for the corporate sector, and for the investors. Of course, for investors and equity market, Tulsian ji would talk more. For the economy, if you see, the investment cycle, I think, has been started again. Our consumption cycle has been very good, but what we were lacking in our GDP growth was the investment cycle. And I think last budget and this budget particularly is going to push investment cycle, because once the government spends so much, every industry has to spend. And as you might be aware, that our capacity utilization of all major industries, be it cement, steel, everywhere this is going up, and therefore people are now thinking of very high investments. I think in 22 calendar year, in last 10 years, the highest amount of investments declared by the corporates have been in 22. So I think we are going to get into the real investment cycle which we need. I think the growth can come either by investment or by consumption. And I think this budget has pushed both the investment cycle as well as consumption cycle. The income tax relief to obviously will boost savings and lead to higher consumption. The higher allocation for Niwas Yojana, I think, there is a lot of, in last 5 years, a lot of things have happened for the poor people, so many schemes, and obviously housing is one need, and the more allocation for PM Niwas Yojana is, I think, again will benefit all the poor people. The fiscal deficit is a good thing, and therefore, to my mind, the impact on the economy, fiscal deficit of to 6% is manageable. In fact, in any developing country, containing fiscal deficit to a very low level means obviously lesser investment. So I think we have seen in last few years, higher fiscal deficit has not affected broadly our interest rate cycle, excepting last 2 years when inflation was completely, out of gear. The market borrowings has been kept less than 12%, 12 lakh crores, and therefore this budget is not inflationary at all. My belief is on inflation front, I think the government has done very well. We have been able to manage inflation very well, and we have peaked the inflation in my view, and I think going forward in next 1 year, we will be able to get inflation, as RBI has indicated, to 4% within the limits which RBI wants to achieve. So overall, there is a positive budget for the economic growth and GDP growth. The government is talking 6%. That's easily available, achievable to my mind. Depending on how the world growth comes in, maybe we can exceed that level. For corporate sector, particularly for certain industries, it has been very good. For infrastructure, cement, steel, all basic industries, I think will do very well with the investment cycle. MSME got excellent, support in various different areas. One of the tax provision which I think we will talk about, that now as a MSME, if you don't pay in time, then you will not get tax deduction at all. It will become non-deductible. So that's a great thing. So people now will not be able to hold back the payment to small industries. The fintech services, again, the entire scope of fintech services is being expanded. I think last, again, 5 years, the digital transformation which we are going through. We have seen our payment system. We have become now perhaps the best in the world in many areas, and the government has now opened up many of these things to the other countries as well, which will create great image to India. The consumption will help FMCG and pharma companies. The tourism industry, very special emphasis that this time government has identified 50 tourism places, and that is what we need actually. The amount of avenues of tourism in India is great. I think we can offer everything which the world offers. I think we need to create infrastructure, and hopefully this budget has given focus on that. There is a focus on reducing compliances and also decriminalizing the various laws, which is absolutely necessary. In any, any growth, if you want businessmen to grow, I think you need to bring down the cost of compliance, the compliances level. The finance minister mentioned something like 34,000 compliances have been brought down. The regulators also this time specifically mentioned that all the financial regulators, RBI, SEBI, IRDA, they will take views of the public and try to see how to bring down the compliances and help in the development. Life insurance is one area which obviously looks affected because the limit of this thing, I think this is in line with government thinking that there will be tax incentives for savings. Anything which want to do, I think, should be based on the decision by the person concerned. The tax return thing which you talked. So overall, I think the corporate sector should really benefit by this budget. The last slide which I'll talk is about the capital markets, very short. I think that's the area which Tulsian ji will talk. But on debt market, I think, the containing fiscal deficit will help bring down the interest rates. Hopefully, in the next announcement, RBI may not increase the rate at all or may increase only 25 basis points. Today, the Fed meeting, their also expectation is that this time they might come down to 25 basis points increase. I think we need lower interest rates for the health, so it will be good for the debt market. However, we expected some announcement for deepening of debt markets. That's one area which I think we have not been able to do in last so many years. When I was president of BSE, we had created a platform for, trading of government securities. The government has now announced, but I think this is one thing which every country people need. How they can put money in the government securities is the most secured investment for that. So we need, obviously, the deepening of debt markets. Equities, broadly, lower interest rates help always equities. Because of the tax savings, more savings, money should flow here. And a lot of sectors will benefit it, which I think you will know in more detail. Tulsian ji will talk about sector, stocks, everything. I'm really not expert to do that, nor it is my scope to do. So I think with these, presentation, in conclusion, I'll say that I think the thinking of the government as expressed in budget is very, very positive. I think, I don't want to talk about what happened in the stock market today, But to my mind, that was nothing to do with budget. What has happened is something other than budget. So I think this will push us into a good cycle of growth, and I think we all need to thank Finance Minister and Government for bringing such a good budget. That's all I want to talk to you. Thanks so much listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Anand Rathi ji. And Anand ji has taken us through the entire, the impact of the budget on the economy, the industrial growth, business growth, MSME, retail, and gave the total macro picture of the country as far as the finance and economy is concerned. Yes. At today's day, which is the most important day for any stock exchange, the budget day, and especially when so much of volatility was there because of some group, shares are being, that time Mr. Sundararaman spent so much of time with us. He is the MD and CEO of the BSE. So thank you, sir. He would like to leave now. Thank you very much for sparing your valuable time. Thank you. Huh? Group? We'll have just one group picture. Thank you. In today's market, the MD and CEO of the Bombay Stock Exchange, BSE, how he has spent more than an hour with us in spite of such volatility in the market today. And you see, because of many reasons, not only for the budget, but some other reasons. So telescope and microscope. The time has come now when one of the most sought after experts is going to take us through both these instruments. And what is the result of that? Work hard, do good, and lead a modest, simple life. That is the philosophy of SP Tulsian. A staunch Karmyogi, Tulsian is the name to reckon with in the Indian investors fraternity. A commerce and the law graduate from Bombay University, Mr. Tulsian is also a chartered accountant and a company secretary. He was awarded the Poddar Ratna Award by R.A. Poddar College, Mumbai in the year 2010, which has been conferred to only 50 Poddarites since its inception over 75 years. Armed with the academics and an acute sense of the logic, SP Tulsian is a much sought after fundamental analyst today. Let me praise fundamental. Mr. Tulsian started investing in the stock market since 1975. And why did he come in this market? Just to make some money for, pocket expenses. In this market, investing and advising on the stock markets has been his passion and the way of life for last 46 years. Presently, he is providing timely and apt investment advice on www.sptulsian.com, of which Mr. Tulsian is the editor and CEO. His son Abhinandan is also here today, and he is managing the entire portfolio of SP Tulsian and giving phenomenal returns to the investors. His quotes on sugar, cement, oil, gas sector, in fact almost every sector. Sugar was once upon a time his favorite subject, I know. And we know each other when my public issue came in 1995, January 1995. And what did he write that time about us? The media and investors rely on his advice, which is seen and considered as unbiased, true, forthwith, free and frank. And the best interest of the stock market investors, the frankness you will know a little while away. as also the often quoted in the leading financial newspapers and journals like Reuters, Economic Times, Navbharat Times, Business Standard, Times of India, and how can we forget many business and news channels where he has given a lot of interviews, and people used to spend a lot of time. In fact, they used to put the alarm when Mr. Tulsian is going to come. So here is Mr. SP Tulsian before you all, who will take you through the journey, the impact on individual segment, the shares, the equities for which everyone is interested in. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashok, for nice words. Respected Mundra ji, respected Anand ji, Vimal ji, other dignitaries on the dais. And again, I feel very happy to, in fact, I wait for that day, on that budget day in the evening when I come and address you all gathering for the last 15, 16 years. And I have been fortunate to have that privilege, bestowed on me by the IVF. So I really feel privileged and proud to have this occasion again of addressing you all here. Thank you for being here in such a large gathering. Now, before I start my analysis on the stock market, I'll only be focusing mainly on the stock market only, not on the taxation part, because Vimalji will take care of that. Anandji has already elaborated on the economy. But before that, I'll just make a small disclosure that I'm a CEO and editor of sptulsian.com, which is an investment advisory firm, SEBI registered. And my son is looking after the PMS, which is again a SEBI registered PMS advisor. So both we are governed by the rules and regulations of SEBI, where we cannot expressly give any recommendations on the stocks and all that. So whatever references which I'll be making here today of the stocks and all that, will either be having our interest or we are acting in the same manner what has been advised to, or what will be giving an indirect hint on the stock markets or the stocks which we feel that which has an investment potential. So take this as my disclosure that yes, we will be only having interest to that extent of allowing the shares which we recommend here, not from investment point of view, but only for comparison or analyzing the budget here. Now, before, if I just want to, because generally there are two things, which people in media ask: how much rating you will be giving to this budget and how you see the budget. And since I've done the cap of the editor and maybe print media also for last 40 years, 35, 40 years. So if I say that, I could say that this is a pragmatic budget, this is a path-breaking budget, this is a responsible budget, this is a revolutionary budget. Whatever verb you want to use, you can use for this budget. And if I want to give the mark rating, then I'll probably be assigning 9.99 out of 10 to this budget. I fully agree with Anandji, who has said that in last 55 years of his career, he has not seen the budget. In fact, my career is much smaller. I'm in the market for the last 46, 47 years. And in fact, the same thing I will second what Anandji has said here, that yes, this is the path-breaking budget, which is going to be, changing the face of the economy for the India in the time to come. Now, if I just quickly come on the budgets of the features of the budget, which are directly impacting the market. The first thing is the fiscal deficit, which we have all, because generally if you see the fiscal deficit, that is very important, that whether the finance minister has adhered to the fiscal deficit or not. If you go by the 6.4% fiscal deficit, which they forecasted at the time of the original budget last year when they presented it, they kept it 6.4 only. But because of the increase, absolute number, if you see the absolute number has increased by about maybe 1.5 lakh crore. The fiscal deficit. But if you see because income has risen by about 7.5% in the revenue income on the taxation side, which in fact I have not seen many times. In fact, last year when I heard many of the analysts on the TV channel and all that, I have stopped coming on the TV channel for the last 2 years. At that time they were saying that revenue estimates are seen to be quite high, because at that time we were all passing through the corona phase and people were not in fact very certain and sure about the recovery. In fact, whole world was saddled with such a gloom and doom scenario that nobody could be able to take a call and accepted the growth of 10% which this government has envisaged at that time when they presented the last budget. But if you see the revenue, the tax collection has increased by 7.5%, by about maybe 2.5 lakh crore, from maybe 19.5 lakh crore to 21 lakh crore. So that kind of growth as they have been shown in the tax collection, and that is why, in fact, on many of the accounts, maybe like disinvestment and all those things, the government has not been very keen or have not pushed very forcefully on that account, because the tax collections has been very robust. And because of that, the fiscal deficit has remained at 6.4% for the current year, which will be ending on the next 2 months or so. Now, if you go by the fiscal deficit breakup, in fact, I always take the fiscal deficit breakup more into the revenue deficit. Because if you see the difference between the fiscal deficit and revenue deficit, the difference goes into the capital creation. If you have lower revenue deficit and higher fiscal deficit, I don't think that should really be alarming, because that the difference goes into the capital creation, or maybe may not be get allocated for the wasteful expenditure like revenue expenditure, but that largely go for the capital expenditure. And if I go by the same thing logic here, the revenue deficit for the revised estimates on this current year has been at 2.9% against 6.4% of the fiscal deficit. That means about 3.5% is the difference between the fiscal deficit and revenue deficit that goes for the capital expenditure for creation of the assets. Now, if I come on the next year's estimate, in fact, that is more appealing and more fascinating. The fiscal deficit has been estimated at 5.9%. The revenue deficit has been estimated at 1.7%, the effective revenue deficit. So that means the 4.2% is the additional allocation on the creation of the capital assets, which is very remarkable and very path breaking for the economy in time to come. And if I go by the 10 lakh crore, already we know that 10 lakh crore has been allocated. That is 3.3% of the total GDP size, which again matters a lot, because if you see our GDP has been estimated at 3.02 lakh crore. If you take the entire calculation of these budget figures which have been presented, so 3.02 lakh crore and 10 lakh crore plus has been allocated on the creation of the infrastructure. So that works out to 3.5% or 3.33% or 3.35%, which is a significant part of this difference of about 4.2%, which I have just elaborated. Now, if I come quickly on the best part, why the FIIs and the overseas investor will really be happy, that the containment of the fiscal deficit at 6.4% in the current year, in spite of the absolute increase in the fiscal deficit by about 1.5 lakh crore. And if you see these two heads, one is the expenditure which has been responsible for this increase in the fiscal deficit is one is on account of food item, because original estimate was 2,06,000 crore, which rose to 2,87,000 crore. We all know that the free food grains have been distributed by this government to many of these, or about 80 crore people, those who have been living below the poverty line in India, and they kept extending the scheme virtually for the whole year. And second was on the account of the fertilizer subsidy, which has increased from 1,05,000 to 2,25,000. So a straight increase of 1,20,000 on account of fertilizer subsidy, and on food subsidy about 85,000 crore increase on that account. If you add these two things, I think 2 lakh crore has been straight away on these two accounts. That means on the other accounts, on the other heads, there may be some kind of small savings and all sort of things which they may have earned. I am not going into the detail on all the broad head sets because of the paucity of the time and all sort of things. So my point is that yes, if you see the two things, one is the food subsidy and second is the fertilizer subsidy in the coming time, I think that both are not going to be bothering so much in the current year, because of the crude now having settled at around $80 per barrel, and I don't think that will really be a problem area for the coming year. So my throat is not working, is not well, so you have to please excuse me for that. Now, if I come on the current year, as I said, that fiscal deficit on account of the food and fertilizer are not going to bother, so that means they should be able to contain the fiscal deficit at 5.9%, which they have envisaged, which will really be again very cheerful for the economy and for the foreign investors who look for these figures very minute and very deeply. Now, coming on the next point, which is very material for the capital market point of view, is the increase in the security transaction tax. Earlier last year, when the government was presenting this budget, they estimated STT at 20,000 crore. Actually, the year will end with the STT of 25,000 crore, and probably that could be the reason that they have not tinkered with the long-term capital gain tax, or maybe bringing unity, or maybe uniformity in private assets, listed stocks and private long-term capital gain tax which was expected by the market. So I think that has been done a wonderful thing by the government of not having tinkered, and the current year their STT has been estimated at 27,625, and I hope that this is going to surpass at least 30,000 crore, looking to the buoyant conditions which I expect for the stock market to continue or to be seen in the next financial year. Now coming back quickly, I'm first touching on the market point of view, then I'll be coming on the implications of each point of this one, and maybe the investment philosophy which I'll be taking here. If you take here in the current year, they've estimated original budget, they've estimated for divestment proceed of 65,000 crore. And sometimes market, sometimes is very gung-ho or very, very fussy about the missing the targets, that government has not been meeting the target of divestment for the last 4 years. But as I said, that out of 65,000 crore which they've estimated last year, they pruned it to 61,000 crore for this year. They pruned it to 60,000 crore, for this year. Of that, 31,000 crore has already been mobilized by the government till this date. That means 29,000 crore still has to come by the government in the next 2 months, whether that comes by the residual stake sale of by SUTI in case of Axis Bank, L&T, ITC, or maybe some of the private sector, some of the stake sale in 4 or 5 PSU which they've already selected. So that is going to be an interesting area to look into. And next year, the estimates of the PSU divestment or the stake sale has been estimated at 61,000 crore. So again, that is very interesting. And I think that this time government will be very, very keen to adhere to this 61,000 crore target, which again should be looked into by the prospective investors. So these are the areas which are directly affecting the capital market. Now, if I come on the capital market philosophy and the how to make money in these markets and what are the areas one should look into. So if I just quickly go on the sector wise, if you see the 10 lakh crore plus has been allocated on the capital creation. Now that is in regard to the building of the bridges, Prime Minister Awas Yojana 79,000 crore, and account and so many other areas. So all this will see the consumption increase in consumption in cement, steel, and other related engineering goods. Second area is the railway. There they have allocated 2,40,000 crore, because now you know that railway budget is all included in the general budget only. For the last 3-4 years they have done that practice of combining the railway budget also with this only. So 2,40,000 crore investment in railway is again a very, cheerful way of allocation to the company, to in this budget, to the sector. So keep an eye on that as well. And the best part in the railway is the introduction of 500 Vande Bharat trains. Now see, if you see the focus of the government, having tasted the success of Vande Bharat train, in every nook and corner of the country they are introducing this Vande Bharat train, and they are going to be the continuous feature in this year budget. They have said that 500 Vande Bharat train will be introduced. Now in fact, people are talking that next week or maybe next fortnight, PM will be here in Bombay to flag off the Vande Bharat train between Mumbai, Sholapur and Mumbai, some other belt also. So every last month he has inaugurated in the eastern part from in West Bengal, Siliguri and all that area. So I think this Vande Bharat train will really be a very good kicker. And if you really I'm just giving as I said that these are not my recommendation, they are just a reference point. Who all make this Vande Bharat train? Who caters to the Vande Bharat train? We will be requiring maybe the companies, those who make the wagons, those who make the supply the power equipments, so many things. So one could be BML, one could be CG Power, one could be Siemens, or it could be ABB kind of stocks, capital goods and all kind of things. And if you see the statement of the CG Power, on which we have been giving the recommendation of the buy call on the stocks, and for the purpose of again disclosure, we have been invested in the stock from 20 rupees in our PMS as well as in our own portfolio, and to our members also. We feel that the growth is going to be immense, because after commentary which the management has given after Q3, it seemed to be quite positive. Same thing goes with the BML also. They have the focus on making the wagons for the Vande Bharat train. So that is also going to be a very big kicker. Apart from that, the metro rails, which we see the flush of the deluge of metro trains coming in all the cities and of every state. So that is going to be a very big area of the investment. So maybe those who are catering to this metro train and Vande Bharat train, as well as the cement and steel. Now cement is a localized commodity. In fact, you can say that cement is catered not more than in a radius of 200-250 kilometers. Neither you can import nor you can cater beyond 250-300 kilometers. But steel can get imported. So yes, and if you see the cement companies' valuations, they are in fact virtually ruling at a very low valuations, maybe at about $120. If I just knock off these two companies, maybe one could be Ultratech, second is Shree Cement. They both are ruling at a EV of valuation of about $180 to $200 per ton. But if you go by the other companies, maybe like Ambuja Cement or maybe like Dalmia Bharat, they are all ruling at a EV of $115. in spite of having a capacity of 65 million tons and 40 million tons respectively for Ambuja Cement and for Ambuja Cement along with ACC of course, and for Dalmia Bharat. So keep an eye on these sectors, these stocks. And I always, in my 40, 45, 50 years of careers in my stock market, I've always relied more on the second and third rank stocks to have the appreciation. As I said that if I wish to invest in the capital goods company or those which are catering to the railways, I won't be buying the Siemens and maybe the ABB kind of stocks, because I'll probably be looking to the stocks maybe could be like AIA Engineering, which caters to the cement industry, which makes the grinding media, or maybe I would rather go with the CG Power kind of stocks, or maybe like any other second or third rank stocks where the appreciation would be more higher because of the higher growth. Because market always rewards the growth always rewards the growth, and always you see the stock market appreciating because of the growth to be demonstrated by those companies. So my point is that yes, you have to have the focus on these companies from the capital capex point of view, and secondly from the railway of allocations having made in this one. The third area could be that tourism promotion, the promotion of the tourism. The kind of tourism promotion which they have made is this one, and in fact that has been the focus of our Honorable Prime Minister, that yes, if you go to Varanasi or maybe any place for that matter, if you go to Varanasi, to Rajasthan, or maybe to Madhya Pradesh. In fact, last year we went to Varanasi. Like, I was amazed to see the kind of developments which they made at to Kashi Vishwanath Temple. 4 years back, I went to Kashi Vishwanath Temple. At that time, I had to pass through as if I'm a chore person, passing through the small barricade and all that. And total temple was in the area of 1,500 square feet. And today that temple is 3.5 lakh square feet. Directly one can approach from the Ganga Ghat se directly mandir mein ja sakte hain. So the kind of devotees which they come there every day, or whatever figures that has multiplied by 10x. So my point is that yes, tourism is going to be a very good area for growth. And in fact, if you see again, tourism mein hotels, automobiles, these two things are seen, and in fact the stocks of both these companies are seen to be ruling quite low. They are not ruling as it used to be, maybe like Indian Hotel, or maybe for that matter any other hotels and automobile OEMs and all that. Maybe Mahindra isn't so much, but still you have the potential on the Maruti and the Tata Motors. In fact, today only we have seen the monthly sales number of the Tata Motors having declared a sales of 74,000 vehicles, and Maruti 1,73,000 vehicles. So this growth is going to be the real kicker for the automobiles and for the hotel industry from the sector point of view. That is the next area. The third could be auto OEMs. Again, the government has been very categorical in saying that in the next year, come 1st April, in fact that statement came from Nitin Gadkari ji about 2 days back, that 9 lakhs vehicles will get dismantled or maybe scrapped, which are 15 years old, from 1st April onwards. And new biofuel or EV based vehicles will get replaced by that. They will not go with the conventional fossil fuel vehicle drawn, which are driven on the petrol or diesel kind of thing. Either they'll go pure electric vehicle, or they will go with the biofuel, or maybe blended EV blended fuel of 20%, 30% kind of thing. So yes, that could really be very big area and very big kicker for the stocks to come. And if you take a call on that, in fact, all the automobile companies are seen to be quite aggressive, whether you take M&M or you take Maruti. In fact, all of them, we have given the statement that yes, they'll be coming out with their EV variants maybe next 24 months or so. But Tata Motors has already been out with their variants. About 45,000 cars have already been sold by them in the EV space in last 1 year, and in fact there is a long waiting list. And in fact, if you see, as I said, 73,000 vehicles has been sold in this month, and the Q3 numbers have been very good. So there could be a big turnaround in the best stock which we find is the Tata Motors. Again, these are just pure the analytical point of view, because unless until I analyze the stocks with the financial performance or expectations, I don't think that there will be any kind of guide to the investors to make investments. They will end up buying, thinking that okay, Maruti is good, M&M is good, but they've already run up so much that probably the Tata Motor could be a better performer from investment point of view. So these are just the indications of analysis, not the investment call, or maybe you can consult your broker or maybe your finance experts and all sort of things. So that could be the next area of growth to be seen in the case of the automobile sector, and that will really be a very big kicker and very big positive for the automobile industry. Now, if you see, looking to this budget, in fact, as I said, that this has been really a path-breaking budget. There has been no increase in the borrowings. The absolute borrowings is only limited to the extent of 12 lakh crore. So that will not be inflationary. Anandji has already elaborated. I think he has nicely covered the entire things of the economy. So that helps me in analyzing or taking the piece or bits from there to analyze that if the government is not borrowing money extra, that will not be inflationary. And if you see the amount going for the productive purposes, If you see, this government has not cared about, we have been talking that this will be a populist budget, this will be a populist budget and all sort of things. But I don't think that that will really be, has been the focus of the government to lure the voters merely because next year they will be facing the general election. Because they believe in their own performance, because they believe that yes, you have to show the performance side. And as I said that I have not seen any kind of budget where the actuals have been surpassed the budget estimates in terms of revenue collections or maybe in terms of fiscal deficit. Because if you see, maybe take, just leave the last 4-5 years budget and you will find that always the things have been, bad on account of the budget going, revenue estimates going haywire on the lower side and expenses going higher on the haywire on the higher side. So this has been very responsible budget, very path-breaking budget, very what you call progressive budget, very pragmatic budget. In the time to come, the things are going to get reflected because if you create the infrastructure, now if you see the statement of Nitin Gadkari, in fact, couple of weeks back we were in Nagpur when Nitin Gadkari ji was there in the seminar and maybe this Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra was there, and Nitin ji has said that we will be making the highway, this expressway from Surat to Chennai. Now just imagine that every nook and corner of the country is getting connected. Now Delhi to Bombay Super Expressway is going to get inaugurated maybe in the next couple of weeks. Prime Minister Modi is going to inaugurate that this one maybe portion of about 200-300 kilometers. So my point is that whole country is getting connected with the super expressway highway, and we know that the kind of benefits which the logistic industry is enjoying in terms of dismantle of this checkpost and introduction of GST. So yes, that will really be a path-breaking move going forward for the consumption of the cement and for development of the automobile industry. So these are the areas where one should really keep an eye on. And if I just take a call on the market, I don't think that you have the best time for making investment in the stock market rather than the current price. Because in current year, maybe in the FY24, if you really ask me, I don't think that one should not be able to make a return of at least 15 to 18% looking to this budget. So, and that is going to be a very rewarding returns, which if we really see from this one. If you see the overall economy, global economy, in fact, everyone is passing through the bad phase of high inflation, high commodity prices, and in fact they are all mindless. They are not able to understand how to control these expenses. Whether you take the case of Europe, whether you take the case of maybe America, they are not able to control the prices of the rising commodity prices and rising inflation. They just go by the mechanical route of raising the interest rate. And as Anandji has said, today evening we have the Fed meeting of raising the rate. Maybe the indications which are coming in that they'll be saying that this will be the last rate hike of 25 basis point, which was earlier expected to be 50 basis point. If they come out with a 25 basis point rate hike, and maybe with a positive commentary that probably is an end of the rate hike cycle, I think that will really be fueling the global economy or giving the confidence back in the global economy of the global investor in the emerging market. And coming back on the investment front, I think that whole world is looking to invest in India. Because if you see FY24, still we have a nominal growth of 10.5%. That is what has been estimated by the finance ministry in her budget. And if you see the revenue estimates have been estimated at 10.5%. If you calculate the nominal interest rate, nominal growth of 10.5%, and you generally take that as a barometer, you take 12% as the increase in the revenues. Maybe like corporate tax collection, like income tax collection. One can understand that because of the reduction in the personal income tax rate, probably she may have taken the lower interest rates, lower estimates of income. But I think that generally the trend has been that whenever the lower tax rate has been introduced, the tax buoyancy has increased, the absolute tax collection has increased. So I think this time also this is going to be the case. Maybe 12 to 13% of the tax collections can come in from the corporate as well as individual in the next year for which the budget has been seen. So just taking overall, so if you take the scenario, 6% GDP growth, that is even if I knock off 4 to 4.5% as the inflation, 6% will be the GDP growth. I don't think that whole world can expect 6% by any country. Forget about maybe China or maybe America or maybe whole Europe or any other country. So the whole world is a slave of growth, and the money will follow. Money will flow into the country. Today she has given the examples of increase in the cell phone manufacturing, the kind of growth, the kind of PLI schemes which is giving growth to all these sectors are going to be really big kicker for our economy. And if you see our economy next year has been estimated 3.7 trillion. That means we are just 2 notches away from beating the Germany and Japan who are ahead of us which we may be able to do that in the next 2 to 3 years. Maybe by 27, 28, we should be able to stand as number 3 largest economy in the world, behind America and China. Take it from me, that is because already we are 5th economy, largest economy in the world. Ahead of us are Germany and Japan, and I don't think any reason with this capex you cannot expect a consistent growth of GDP rate of about 6%, nominal growth of 10% and GDP growth of 6%. I don't have any doubt for the next 3 years. So if you just keep showing this kind of growth, then probably FY27 or FY28 we will be number 3 economy in the world by then, leaving the China and Japan, leaving the Germany and Japan behind. So I think these are the investment avenues where you will be seeing sentiment changes very fast. If you see the case of our even in India, when we were talking of the rate hike, we were so much worried that RBI will keep increasing the rate hike. This will Fed has indicated that probably will be keep going on hiking the rates and all those things, and will not be stopping this cycle. So, but I don't think that should really be concerned now, because as the sentiment changes very fast, the things are seen to be quite changing accordingly. Now coming back on the market reaction. I was, just because every day I interact with on my portal, I reply on about maybe 200 questions online, when the market is running to my people and all that. Till 12 o'clock or till 1 o'clock or maybe till 2 o'clock, people were all very jubilant. They were calling excellent budget and there's this thing, that thing. From 2:30 to 3:30, everyone has gone down. Now what happened to this market? Don't look to this index and all that. People come and ask me, sir, index ka kya lagta hai? I say, have you invested in index? I have never invested in index. Believe me, in my portfolio, in my last 45 years of careers, I've never invested in the index stocks. I've never bought HDFC. I'm not trying to criticize, but I've always outperformed, and probably my returns have been phenomenal. Maybe whatever name, fame, and money I've earned is all from the stock market. In fact, I call it as a temple of wealth. In fact, people call it speculation, but I call it temple of wealth. So my point is that if you indulge into the speculation, and in fact today, if you ask the people, they'll feel very happy if they made some kind of money, maybe 50,000 rupees in 2 lots. Arey maine 2 lot kharida, us stock ka mera itna badh gaya. And they feel very happy, but they are not bothered about their investment return. And believe me, you can only make wealth by investments, not by speculation. And you always look to make not profits, but always look to make wealth. And if you can make wealth, I think that will help your generations, not profits will always keep you tense, will always keep you on the toes. Whether वो बोलते ना कल निफ्टी नीचे खुला, SGX क्या हुआ, अमेरिका कितना डाउन गया, डाउ कितना ऊपर गया, ये सब these things will not going to bother. Now coming back on this one, as I said that now take for this today only, today's market only. Today, if you all those who recap, I'm just trying to give some technical data here. It was expected that Bank Nifty is going to get all its gain erased in the of the day. Believe me. Why? Because yesterday, if you all recall, Bank Nifty opened with a premium of 410 points, which was seen unsustainable. If you see, the Bank Nifty has fell about maybe 3,000 points in last 3 days, prior to 3 days. Yesterday it went up by about maybe 1,200 points. So yesterday Bank Nifty premium opened with a gap of with a premium of 415 points. You cannot expect the Bank Nifty premium to have 415 points even with the start of the series, which is of 4 weeks. Generally 5-week series is not seen the Bank Nifty premium going beyond 250. So this was expected that today the rise will not sustain. And if in fact if you see today closing, tomorrow Bank Nifty will open with a premium of maybe about 180 to 200 points. I have not seen the adjusted rate now. So if you see the 200 points rise of the Bank Nifty, I think that is sustainable. That's a correct rate. And if you take it from me, if you see this Fed rate hiking rate of 25 basis point, and maybe the commentary seem to be sober and positive, you will tomorrow see the Bank Nifty rising by maybe 1,000 points, because already technical factors have changed the Bank Nifty going into the oversold position from overbought yesterday. The position changes just within 2 hours, maybe couple of hours. In fact, it gets changed. Maybe till 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, Bank Nifty was up by about 1,500 points, 1,200 points, 1,300 points, and it closed maybe about 300 points or 400 points down. So my point is that yes, technical factors are changing the scenario and giving you the pains and make you to dance just on the without music always. Looking to these all technical factors. So don't look to these technical factors. Same thing happened with Nifty. Nifty in fact opened today with 130 points, 150 points plus. And now it has closed, maybe tomorrow it will open with a 70 points, 60 points. So take it from me, if you don't use this opportunity for making investments in the right stocks from the investment point of view, you will not be able to make money. And this is the best time for any investor to remain invested in the stock market. Now coming back on the divestment theme, now let me just quickly add here that government has not said that they will not be divesting these stakes. As I said, that they've kept the estimates of 61,000 crore for next year, and still today in the next 2 months they have a room of 29,000 crore. I don't know 29,000 crore what all will be there, and for the next year it is 61,000 crore. So in all, if you take about next 15 months, as I said, that I'm quite hopeful that they will go around and will achieve the combined target of 90,000 crore in the next 14-15 months. So keep an eye on 4-5 stocks which they've already said, maybe like BML, maybe like a Shipping Corporation of India. They are going to get sorted out, because maybe in Shipping Corporation of India some objections of the union have come. The reply will get filed by the union, by the company, which has already been before the MCA. Same thing will happen with BML. Same thing will happen with maybe Shipping Corporation of India. Maybe same thing could happen with Hindustan Copper also. Maybe bank I'm not very sure. Two biggest PSU banks, which FM has in fact said 2 years back that they'll be going ahead with the 2 PSU banks, but she has been keeping mum on this one. So my point is that yes, the divestment could be a very good theme for making investments, and these are the few stocks where we recommend, maybe like Shipping Corporation of India and maybe like BML or maybe like Hindustan Copper, because these are purely, if you recall, about 20 years back I recommended the stock Hindustan Zinc. At that time I recommended the stock at 2 rupees and nobody was prepared to buy the stock at that time, and today it has grown by 400x. In 20 years it has risen by 400 times. Today its effective rate is 800 rupees if you add the dividend and all bonus and all sort of things that they are having adjusted. So my point is that yes, these could be the real money bagger, multi-bagger for your portfolio, for your stocks. So be selective. Don't ask. In fact, if anyone asks me what will be the index, Mr. Tulsian, what is the index level for next year? I say I don't know, because I'm not tracking any index stocks, because exchanges are very smart enough in replacing the loss-making index. They knock off the loss-making stocks from the index and add the profit one in the index. So I never track the index. I just go by my individual portfolio and never run for the safety of the portfolio. Never look to have all blue chips only. I'm not against the blue chips, that yes, but that can only have your returns. In fact, HDFC and HDFC Bank has given negative returns for this financial year, and that has been bizarre. In fact, if you see the historical return, they've always been given a return of 17, 18%, 21% CAGR for last 2 decades, 3 decades. But you cannot expect. Same thing has happened with Asian Paint. Same thing happened with so many blue chips, which have all been given negative returns in FY23. So my point is that probably you'll see the same trend getting repeated next year also, FY24. So look to address your portfolio in such a manner where you can have the growth-oriented stock. Don't only look for the project and prospects and the promoters. In fact, I've always said that these 2 or 3 things which really matters for any company or any investors to make money and to grow. So my point is that yes, you have the very wonderful year ahead of you, and mind it by 2030, 2028, 2029. First, this government is going to remain in the next power also. Take it from me, that 2029 through 2030, we're going to see this government only remaining in the power. Until then, they will all see our infrastructure, they'll put everything in their place. Once our import of the crude stops, then that will really be seeing the currency appreciation. And in fact, I don't buy this argument that we should have the weakening rupee to encourage the exports and all that. We should in fact curtail our imports. In fact, we should try to curtail our gold imports as well as the crude imports. Now, how the crude imports will happen once the 2030, which they've given the target of hydrogen, once that will start replacing the fossil fuel, then you will see the good amount of import bill getting reduced, which will reduce the current account deficit. And if you have lower current account deficit, then that will be having a strong rupee as well. If we go abroad, we find that okay, 2 years back I came to this country, this currency my rupee has weakened by about 10%, 20%, 30%. That has really been pinching. Maybe not from pocket to my personal pocket, but to my prestige also, that why India is seeing the weakening rupee. But the weakening rupee, cause of weakening rupee is import of gold as well as import of crude. And fossil fuel, if can get stopped by 2030, I think that will really be weaker, the change of the picture. And believe me, those who can live, I don't know whether I'll be able to, I hope that I'll be able to survive till 2040. Because I'm today 65-year-old, and if I can survive for next 15 years, I think that will really be a big kicker. But I think this is the best time for the young generation, those who have been in the age of maybe 25 to 40 years. In fact, the median age of the India is 29 years of age. And we have ample opportunity. In fact, I can talk on all the positives. In fact, there are no negatives. Negatives is only seen in the eyes of the opposition parties. They will only say, oh, because their agenda is only to throw Modi ji out of this power, and I don't understand that who. In fact, I won't be blunt in saying that who joker has the power to dislodge him. In fact, all jokers can only make one buffoon. You cannot make 10 jokers which are combined together can make really dislodge a lion. So my point is that yes, you have a very excellent future ahead of India for the youngsters, and this is the best opportunity for making investments in the stock market. In fact, when I started my making investment in 76, 74, 75, I remember that time also the things were looking to be so difficult in case of interest rate on the one hand you are getting interest rate of 18%, on the other hand you are speculating on the stock markets, and you are trying to take a risk of higher returns and higher balancing and all sort of things. So my point is that yes, you have excellent future. Don't look for nifty. Don't look for making daily profits by indulging in F&O. I have not seen any F&O trader having made money. In fact, F&O traders can have only made crorepati as lakpati. They were only, and I don't think that any technical trader stays beyond. In fact, this is not a comment on the people and all sort of things, but never indulge in this speculation of F&O kind of things, and don't feel happy of making daily 20,000 rupees ka kama liya, 2 lot bech diya, 3 lot bech diya, 2 lot ye kar diya, because that will overall take your balance sheet at the year end in minus only. Because I always tell that F&O traders cry 2 times in a year, when they make a loss and when they finalize their returns. When they finalize their returns by sitting with the CA, they always cry, oh itna loss aa gaya mera, because sometimes even he is not aware that how come he has incurred so much losses. So if you really want to make money, make fortune by making investments, and be selective. Make the diverse portfolio. Believe me, in fact, that has been our investment philosophy in the PMS also, which has given a return of 40% plus for the last 3 years continuously. So my point is that yes, look for the consistent return, look for the quality growth-oriented stocks, and you have excellent future ahead after seeing this budget. As I said, I have given assigned 9.99 because you have to have some kind of leeway, left for the negatives also, which I have assigned as 0.01. So 9.99%, kudos to Modi ji, kudos to her leader, Nirmala Sitharaman being a finance minister, and excellent future ahead. And with this, I wish all of you happy investing. Best time for the India to come. India is great and India will remain great. Thank you very much.
What a great address, a rapid fire. Like Mumbai now metro trains. Of course, bullet train is yet to come. Our Vimalji is famous for, when you will come to know when he starts. But before that, since Tulsianji may not be there up to the end, we are having a question and answer session of very short. And I would request to circulate 1 or 2 mics. So if there are no questions, yeah, there, at the end. Yeah, one gentleman is standing there.
Thank you very much for the good information that you have given us. Thank you so much. You have spent your valuable time for us. Thank you so much. Here I ask a few questions. You have mentioned this was to Mr. Anand Rathi, one-time scheme for women. Could you tell me what is this one-time scheme for women? Another question again to Mr. Anand Rathi. You mentioned that 7 lakh income tax limit, 7 lakh income, and there is no tax on that. Can you please elaborate on that, please? And what is the discriminating law for business? Discriminating law, that is tax versus for income, and discriminating law for business. Can you please explain this?
What is
discriminating law? You have mentioned. Anand Rathi.
Yeah, which law?
Discriminating law and industrial growth and investment on India.
Yeah, please.
Okay, that was the answer. That was some spelling mistake, but I think the 2 questions was women. I think the finance minister can go and see how much he has talked about women in this budget speech. I think the maximum time allotted to women was in this budget, and I think a lot of good things are being done. We must compliment government that support in so many areas is being given for women entrepreneurship, women education, training, every area. That's great. Your question on the tax part, 7 lakh, I think we will deal in more details and brief you how the benefit of, there are 2 ways to file your tax assessment. So which one is better, and everyone will talk on that. Thank you.
And what is the discriminating law for business? Tax codes to income, there's tax codes and income, and there's
Decriminalization. The idea is that a lot of criminal clauses are there in the Act today, which actually inhibit businessmen to do things. And rightly so, all over the world, In businesses, the criminal law is not applicable. They are, by your penalties or other things, fine, it is handled, not by your criminal activity. And I think you must have heard a lot of business people are going away from India because of these criminal provisions. And so much of power in the hands of, bureaucracy or in the hands of police or all agencies. I think that's what the government has appointed a parliamentary committee to go into the details of this. And I think that's a very welcome move that we need to decriminalize the laws. Because no laws, it is LAWS laws. The कानून जो है उनमें there is as the compliance part is too high and that's affecting the business. So each of doing business if you want to do, we have to bring down compliances. We have to decriminalize legal laws. So people are not criminally injected for a commercial law. That's the idea.
Yeah,
clear?
Thank you. Now, dear gentlemen, please. Good evening, sir. Thanks for addressing us and to the distinguished panel. Mr. Nitin Gadkari sometime back had made a mention that the greatness of our Indian citizens who are very conservative, he's going to float a National Highway Corporation kind of a bond, which is as good as a share. Every unit that you hold in that will give you a repo rate plus or minus, plus actually 1 or 2%. And that will be very crucial for investors to come forward and have the ownership anywhere. Of course, there is no limit to the money coming into those sectors. But I think we get some consistency on the rate of return and fixed and things like that. Anybody can plan
there is no announcement in this budget, but REITs are there now. REITs are particularly on the real estate tax. That's what Mr. Gadkari said to raise money from National, this Highways Authority. They would like to float from a bond, but it has not happened so far. But I think today the government securities are very attractive. I think they might be difficult in getting that if you get 7 to 7.5% in government securities, which I think is the most secured, investment you can make. So I think I recommend people if we can, get into that mode. Government securities are the best.
Okay, thank you. So we go ahead with our further. We have one more speaker left. A chartered accountant by qualification, Mr. Vimal Punmiya is heading Vimal Punmiya Company leading chartered accountancy firm, rendering comprehensive professional services, which includes audit, taxation, management consultancy, corporate law matters, property matters, accounting and secretarial matters, amongst others. Mr. Punmiya is an expert in cooperative society matters, property matters, stamp duty, registration, trust matters, taxation matters, personal will and inheritance planning, and is having hundreds of cooperative societies, companies, LLCs, firms, trusts, and resident and non-resident individuals as his clients. Vimal is the member of the standing committee of TDS appointed by the Income Tax Department for many years now. He has authored several books on the transfer of the flat, stamp duty, registration of properties, capital gain tax, survey, search and seizure by Income Tax Department, SUF Plus and revenue arrangements and many more. His articles on various subjects of the public interest are regularly published in the leading newspapers and the magazines. Mr. Punmiya is the recipient of many prestigious awards and recognition for his professional services. It's difficult to take the name of all the awards for the time constraint. He is associated with several professional and social and cultural organizations as chairman, president, executive committee member, and in all the capacities. Mr. Vimal Punmiya is the most sought after speaker on the union budget year after year to explain the changes brought in the direct tax laws in the budget. I think he has given for more than 1,500 such talks only after the budget every year. Every year 30-40 such talks. And then we will have a short question answer session too once he finishes.
S.S.Mundra ji, D.C.Gupta ji, Proprietor Jeejeebhoy ji, my uncle Shri Anand Rathi, Shri SP Tulsian ji, Ashok Ajmera, Rajendra Malpani, and my colleague Neeraj Soni, who helped me in preparing this speech today. Today, of course, I am meeting one person whom I used to meet for last 15 years. Vimal Punmiya Co, who was a chartered accountant, my good friend, and always after meeting he used to talk for 10-15 minutes. But anyway, now he is not in this world. Now coming back to the budget directly. Friends, I have divided my budget in 3 parts. What are the favorable points? What are the points against us? And I have taken out list of 29 favorable points, equally roughly 19 unfavorable points, and 7 general decisions. So wherever it is connected with us, we discuss in detail. Wherever it is routine in nature, we just either point out and routine factor. Now first, if there are 2 types of system: old system, new system. Old system, we get all the type of deductions. New system and deductions are not available. But slowly they are adding every year 2-3 deductions in that also. So if I follow new system, then my income up to 7 lakh rupees is not taxable. It is 100% exempted. Old system is concerned, it will feel like it's free. But I personally feel that either this proposal becomes an act, both places 7 lakh will be there. Otherwise there will be a lot of difference between the 2 systems, old and new. Again, rate of tax also they have, earlier there were a number of slabs, 7 slabs, now they reduced to only 5 slabs. So basically almost 3 lakh to 6 lakh, only 5% is. Now if my income is more than 7 lakh, then I get deduction of only 3 lakh. It is only if my income is up to 7 lakh, then 7 lakh is free. And then marginal limit will be worked out. In both systems I have to work out, and whatever minimum amount is payable, and whatever maximum amount is payable, I have to pay. Surcharge, like Rathi sir already said, individual paying tax at the rate of 42 or something. Now this is to 39%, and surcharge which was earlier 37%, and income actually more than 5 crore rupees have reduced now to 25%, which is there up to income more than 2 crore rupees. Eligibility of external deduction, original when not yet, new design, old design, so external deduction was not allowed in new system, but now they say 52,500, 50,000 surcharge, external deduction, 2,500 provision tax, that will be allowed in both the systems, whether you follow new system or follow old system. Eligibility of deduction from the family pension, in old system 15,000 they were allowed probable nature, which is really allowed in new system also now. Increase in the leave encashment limit, which was earlier 3 lakh rupees, now increased to 25 lakh rupees. Now this is all not have come under this, so I don't discuss much detail, we discuss more about whatever is important. Section 35D is in claiming deduction in amortization of delivery expenses. Now such a system has been made. Earlier you capitalize in the balance sheet, used to claim certain percentage every year and write off. Now some system has changed, and they say you will be able to claim in different. So complete scheme has been given in that. So there are few changes in that. Promoting timely payment to micro and small enterprises. Sir has also said that if small SMI we have to pay the money, then once we pay, then only we get a deduction. The question comes, one company to another company, both fall under the same category, whether rule will apply. As per the present system, I feel it will apply. But finally, when budget will come, finally it will become X, there may be some changes, some exception may be given in that. Increasing threshold limit of the presumptive taxation. Now as on today, if my turnover is up to 2 crore rupees in a case of business and 50 lakh in case of profession, then in case of a business, we are supposed to pay tax at the rate of 8%. If my 95% transactions are by tax, more than 95% or 95%, then I pay tax of only 6%. Now that 2 crore limit has increased to 3 crore now. So up to 3 crore, this limit will be applicable. So all small businessmen who turnover is up to 3 lakh, this will not apply. And as far tax audit is concerned, above the 10 crore is the limit which we all know which was made 2 years back. As far as profession is concerned, for example, I am a practicing chartered accountant. My gross receipts are less than 50 lakh rupees. Then instead I have to claim 25 lakh expenditure, pay tax on 25 lakh. Need not maintain any books of account. Now that has become to 55 lakh. So professionals who have professional CA, advocate, chartered accountant, cost accountant, company secretary, consulting engineer, recognized profession, 75%. Then next item, Agnipat Scheme 22 for this army and other things, government brought some scheme, so which we will not discuss much. Relief to sugar company, they are again some technical sugar company, whatever money is blocked for them, they will get rebate now. Increase threshold limit of cooperative withdrawal cash without. Now, cooperative bank, which withdraw cash from the bank, then there was some limit, now they limited it to 3 crore rupees. So up to 3 crore if they withdraw the money, they are not liable to pay that extra tax which was available in the case withdrawal. Penalty for cash loan transaction against the primary cooperative society. Today a law is that under 269 SS, 269 P, I cannot give loan to any person I cannot borrow from any person more than 20,000 rupees other than account pay cross check. And I cannot repay the same amount other than account pay cross check. That is the law. But for cooperative society also these are the limits, but now they increase to, for cooperative society they say, if you invest up to 2 lakh in cash, then penalty will be not there, the 20 lakh limit will not apply, it will be 2 lakh rupees. Extension of date of incorporation of eligible startup which was ending on 31st March 2023, all startup which know, in TV also we see many programs on startup, so they extended up to 31st March 2023. Conversion of gold to electronic gold receipt and vice versa, certain modifications are there in that amendment. Then tax incentive to international financial services, earlier which was exempted up to 31st March 2023, extended by another 2 years up to 31st March 2025, and the certain years are exempted out of the total income. 15% concession tax to promote new manufacturing company cooperative society. Like a startup pay tax only of 15%. Similarly, in cooperative society, start any manufacturing activity after 31st March 2024, they also will be liable to pay tax only at 25% and not normal rate of 30% on other days. Relief to startup in carrying forward and setting of loss. If a startup is making loss, there is a provision in income tax if you transfer more than 51% of your shareholding to any other person. Then whatever your losses are there, they end there only, you cannot carry forward. But for startup, they have given certain concession, even you transfer more than 51%, still you will get a deduction of the carry forward losses. Extending the scope of deduction of tax as source in lower and nil rate. Today what happened? For example, I am liable to pay tax on a particular, say 10%. Let us say professional fees, or I am selling the property and certain percent is there. And my really tax is not payable to that extent. For non-resident, there are certain systems are there. We file form online and relief is given in 1 month's time. For individual, there is a lot of harassment. So now they have simplified that also. The government don't want to collect more and give refund along with the interest. So they want to collect. So we have to prove all the figures. My tax is not this much. I am not liable to pay 10%. I fall in 5% category or 4% or 3%. And accordingly, on merit of each case, officer will give a certificate. So the procedure has been simplified. And simplification means normally what they do, when face-to-face things were there, you go there every time, they waste your time, and finally corruption was there. So now today, government, Modi ji is doing what? Everything faceless. Everything had been added in faceless. So actually in income tax, if somebody asked me 10 years back, whether income tax corruption will reduce in income tax, there was no reply. But today I say with the confidence that 99% corruption is not there in income tax department up to ITO level and CIT field. And everything is faceless. Majority items are faceless except such cases in international taxation. And hopefully because of this election year is there, so they have not done anything. But 99% in 2 years time, like Tulsian sir also said that by 2028 things will become much better. It is already in the process of that. Now I personally feel in income tax everything will be faceless. When assessment has become faceless, earlier department used to select 5%, 10% cases under scrutiny. Now what happened? Out of 400, 1 case is selected under scrutiny. So naturally scrutiny is less, harassment is less, and again when scrutiny is not there, there will be less appeal. If less appeal, then tribunal also will have less appeal, and CIT appeal faceless, tribunal faceless, and internally they have team of 4 persons for 1 assessment. Technical team, review team, so number of, at least for 1 assessment, whatever addition they make, 16 officers apply their mind and then additions are made.
felicitating TDS credit for income already disclosed in the return of income for the past year. Now, many times what happens, person give you a check of fees, say, for example, interest. He deducted TDS, but he don't pay. If he don't pay, it don't appear in my 26As. So ITO will not give me the credit. Litigation goes on. So they have simplified now, even afterward person has paid, you can claim in the subsequent year. If assessment is completed, then it is not subject of rectification, because I have not claimed, so what is a mistake happened from record? So I can claim in the subsequent years. So SSC will not lose that amount of TDS. Relief from special provision for higher rate of TDS, TCS for non-filer of income tax return. Now here what happened, earlier provision was that any person who is not filing, 2 year back amendment have come, any person who is not filing the return for last 2 years, and his TDS is more than 50,000 rupees, then wherever income is getting, his TDS will be deducted double than normal rate. So that was the provision. In last budget, that 2 year has been reduced to 1 year. Now they said, again further relief in that, in case wherever person is not having PAN number, and which was 20% earlier, there also they have reduced and brought to 5% in certain category of the item. Clarification regarding advance tax while filing updated return. Now actually last budget where there was a good scheme, if somebody has forgotten to file the return. Because the computer everything is very simple. Earlier assessment used to take after 2-3 years, case will be selected after 1 year, and nearly what order you will get after 4-5 years. I've seen the period when CITP used to take 4 years and tribunal used to take 7 years. But today things have become very simple. You file the return, you get the refund order. My 90% client have got refund order within 30 days only. And Finance Minister also said in his speech, 45% returns are processed in the same day, within 24 hours even. Remaining are processed in 30 days or 90 days maximum. So in that simplification, so what happened, any person who missed something, and last date of filing revised return is over, so they cannot file the revised return. But they brought some another scheme, you can file updated return. What your income you shown earlier, plus what you want to add that, and file the updated return within 12 months, but you have to pay penalty of 25% of the tax and interest surcharge. And if you are filing after 1 year, but within 2 years, then 50% penalty. So that purpose, clarification now have come, I have not paid advance tax that time. So advance tax interest will come definitely, but penalty, separate penalty will not come. This 25% or 50% of what penalty I am paying, that covers everything. Income from business and profession. The value of the benefit and perquisite, as on today what happened, there are many dimming section income tax. What you have not received is also taxable. If you are subject to, you are expected to receive, it is due but not received, and many tax. So as far as perquisite is concerned, wherever deemed income is concerned, income is not there, but it deeming, I to assume that this income is there because of certain sections or certain deeming provision, then that amount will be taxable only on case of receipt. Simply you have made agreement and income is due and you have not received it, but it falls under deemed category, then it will be taxed only when you receive the money, not only when it is a due or something has happened. Section extension of time for disposition of pending rectification application for internal board of settlement. You know, up to 1st February 2021, there was a body called Settlement Commission. Settlement Commission is like a Ganga Sanan of Income Tax Department. अब हिंदी में कहावत है, बिल्ली 100 चूहा खा के हज करने को चले. So if somebody has done all type of offences, whatever he can do at 4 corners of Income Tax Act, all 300 sections of Income Tax Act, and if ITO want to levy penalty on him, he will be nowhere. His wealth will be not sufficient to pay the penalty and interest. So there was a body called Settlement Commission. कि आप उधर जाओ, आपका गंगा जी का स्नान हो जाएगा. And they have all the power to waive the interest, waive the penalty, give the deduction. Everything was there. So that body and department thought that because of that body they are not paying taxes properly, but they give lot of relief. So 1st February 2021 they discontinued. But many matters were pending that time. So they went to the court. Court decided, okay, up to 31st March, the government cannot pass like this. They have to give benefit to the SSC. So up to 31st of March 2021, they allowed. Many persons went further. They thought, abhi 7 din bacha hai, jo benefit lene ka le lo. Then those persons have rejected. Again matter went to the court. Court again sent back. So now it become law that by 30th of September 2023, whatever matters are pending, they will be disposed of on merit. So that is also good relief to the big taxpayer. Rationalization of the appeal to the appellate tribunal. Tribunal also they made certain system. Appeal, now today also what happened? Today I filed the appeal in the tribunal. I have seen the date when 7 years will take to fix the hearing. Now today my peon go there, within 30 days notice of hearing come. And 90% cases within 3 months order also come, this way or that way. Only few cases where matter is complicated, it may take 6 months or 12 months. So tribunal they further made simplified, they will take ground wise. Like for example, today they fix the penalty matter. All penalty matter will be fixed. So beginning with 2-4 Act will argue, same principle will follow everywhere. Excluding the non-banking financial company from restriction on the internal deductibility. NBSE, some TDS provision is there when income will be received or paid, that time only TDS will come in the picture. Charitable trust, there are many amendments. I will just tell you one of them. Charitable trust means your whole idea is to do charity. And there, let us say medical and education. There are a number of types of charity are there. Medical and education have two options. Either to register under section 1023C, wherever you don't have to maintain books of account. Now we started maintaining books of account in last budget. Earlier they were not liable to maintain the books of account, but certain limit of amount was there. Or you register under section 1012. Now charitable trust, actually medical or education has now become business, practically. Many trusts are there, they don't pay tax, they collect 100 crore rupee by way of a fees from a student, international school or various type of school. Their expenditure is only 40-50 crore because they have their own property and surplus of 50 crore accumulated every year. Of course, trustee cannot take, but money is accumulated. So in last few days back when circular came, they say if object is a charitable activity under 1023C, then education expenditure, whatever trust is incurring, they cannot make profit more than 20% or maximum they can have profit of 20%, which can be accumulated for other activity. But still I feel that section 12-13, 11-12-13 is not covered. So these type of procedure amendments are there in a charitable trust. Now friends, let us see with few unfavorable points. Rationalization of exempted income under life insurance policy. Because in life insurance policy, if your premium was beyond a particular limit, and on maturity when you get that money, that amount was taxable. So now they said, 1st April 23 onwards, if any person make the premium more than 5 lakh rupee, that amount, whatever money will come on refund, will be taxable. Alignment of provision of section 45(5)(a) with TDS. 45(5) came 5 years back, assessment of 17-18. For example, I am an individual or HUF, and I have a plot of land. As per the old law, when I give to the builder for development, I have not received any money. When building will be ready, builder will give me say 50% area of the flat, and 50% he will keep. For 50% constructed, I am not incurring any expenditure. But law was that if when I may get the constructed area maybe after 4 years, but I have to pay tax today itself. So I was forced to take the money. If I forced to take the money, builder was forced to pay me the money, then naturally he will include all interest, etc. And he will not give me 50% area, he give me 30% area. So somewhere in assessment 17-18 amendment came, when you receive money from the builder, maybe in advance, you are not liable to pay tax that time, you have to pay tax when building is ready. And when you get the real possession, after occupation certificate is received. So that law remains as it is. But while filing the return, many persons found out the way, instead of writing the, say, I have my plot, I give to builder, he will give me 40% area and he will give me today 100 crore rupee. Now 100 crore was not taxable just now, it will be taxable when I get my flat. Now there what happened, they used to write wording refundable deposit. So if somebody asks me the question, I say I have to pay back to the builder when he give me the flat. But before the building is ready, they exchange one letter, that this is a non-refundable now. Agreement may refundable, but now it will become non-refundable, so I don't have to refund the money. And they don't pay tax on that. So now law is there, that whenever my building is ready, any benefit I received from the builder, maybe advance money, say 100 crore, 50 crore, or any other indirectly benefit, any perquisite, all will be added when building is ready, and I have to pay tax on that amount. So it is also good provision. Many persons are escaping paying tax. Prevalence of doubt, deduction claim in interest of the borrowed capital. Now actually what happened? For example, I purchase a flat from a builder. Let us assume Loda builder. Building is under construction. I will take a loan from India Bulls or any other bank or NBSE. I pay interest. After building is ready, naturally I will pay, I will claim the interest as a reduction as provided in section 23-24. And I will not capitalize. Till building is ready, I will capitalize the money. Many persons used to say that in filing the return, they will claim expenditure. But as far as balance sheet is concerned, they will capitalize there. Like LRC premium. I know many clients, whenever they pay insurance premium, they debit to the balance sheet. So, actually, then they claim in the return. PPF, show in the balance sheet, claim in the return. So, the balance sheet give clear picture that much money is there. So, here what happened, person was claiming as a reduction, at the same time capitalizing the balance sheet, and when they sell that flat, they used to claim again deduction as enhanced cost. First a cost, then improvement cost. So now law have come, if you already claimed somewhere in earlier period, you can't claim double deduction. So I think this also is not minor, but a clarification. Defining the cost of acquisition in case of certain assets for computing capital gain. Section 55, cost of acquisition, the same thing. Further, two sections are there interconnected. So same interest or any other expenditure which already claim as a revenue expenditure, like repair also, then you can't claim double item. Reading the time providing the furnishing of transfer pricing when report come from the officer, when appeal go to the CITP, certain time limit has been fixed now. Distinction of business trust to the unit holder. Now friends, one important amendment is there. Section 54 and 54 have survey also explained, said something. Now point here is, there was the section 54. What was the section? If I sell any residential house and whatever profit, for example, let us say my example, I purchased one flat in 1980, say for example 5 lakh rupee. Today my flat is worth 10 crore rupee. I sell the flat in 10 crore. Now, because I purchased in 1980, my cost of 2001 can be substituted as a market value. Let us assume the 2001 value is 1.5 crore. Because market value is gone up like anything. Now 1.5 crore, I make indexation 3.1. So let us say 5 crore. Now my sale value 10 crore. Index cost 5 crore. Remaining 5 crore is my real capital gain, taxable capital gain I can say. So I can invest in buying another residential house 1 year before, 2 years after, or I want to buy from a builder under construction, then within 3 years I can buy, but within 3 years construction should be ready. That is section 54. 54F is, I don't sell the residential property. First 54 I sell the residential property. Here I sell shares, jewelry, industrial gala, shop, or any other item other than residential house. Then whatever my sale value is there, whole amount I have to invest in a residential property, so I can claim under section 54F. If I invest part of it, then balance will be taxable. Whatever money invested, I will get deduction. Remaining will be taxable. Condition is that I cannot have more than one house. One house I can have old, a new house which I purchase. Under 54, there is no condition. I can have 100 house, no problem. Even now I want 101, also no problem. But 54 there is a restriction. Now what is the amendment? Before that, let me give you an example. One of my clients had purchased one land in Delhi in 1947. 11 acre of land, he paid 1100 rupees. Now, because of appreciation, he sold that land and he got 300 crore rupee now. 25 crore rupee per acre multiplied by that 275 crore something. Now, he invested in one big bungalow now. Claim deduction under section 54F. He having no house earlier, no tax was there. Now, what is the amendment? If I invest after 1st April 2023, then restrictions are there. I cannot invest more than 10 crore rupee. Limit is fixed. So all small SSE who want to invest less than 10 crore, so no problem. But those SSE who want to invest more than 10 crore, they will get deduction of 10 crore and balance will be taxable. That is the whole amendment. This is the main point. So still, if somebody want to invest up to 31st March, it is open. Increasing rate of TCS and certain remittances. I think we already discussed foreign remittance when you send. It's, my son is studying in the USA, say, for example. I borrow money from the bank and send to my son for higher education. Then TDS is only 0.5%. 0.5%. I have my own capital. I don't want to borrow. and I send to my son, it is a 5% TDS. Bank will deduct. When I file my return, I will get set off. Means nothing, no money don't go anywhere. But it is at source, it will be deducted by bank. I send to the, pay to the bank 100 rupee. They will deduct 5 rupee TDS. 95 only will go to my son. Now, other than that, for tourism purpose, I going for any other purpose, medical and education you leave. Then all other purposes, TDS earlier was 5%. Now it is a 20%. So substantial money will go in TDS only, which you will get set off later on. So what will be implication of this? You know, earlier I remember when person used to go to USA somewhere in 1980s, $500 rupee was allowed as a foreign exchange to go to USA. And 500 was not sufficient to pay taxi fare, a one-time taxi fare in USA, even at that point of time. So now, effect of this, I don't know what will happen, whether Hawala transaction will go up or down, or God knows what will happen. Limiting the roll over, same will be for gold actually. Gold also become now costlier. And gold, jitna official nahi aata hai, usse 4 guna unofficial aa raha hai. Sabko malum hai. Limiting the rollover benefit claim and ho gaya. Special provision for taxation of capital gain in case of market-linked debentures, which sir have also discussed, and it is all you know. Penalty for furnishing inaccurate statement of financial transaction, for not concealing the income in income tax, not giving all the particulars. Because again, income tax, what happen? If I don't give some detail to the income tax, a department find out I have that income, penalty is 50% of the tax. If I declare something wrong, my expenditure is only 1 crore, but I claim 2 crore, which is already part of my record, audited accounts or final balance sheet, then penalty is not 50%, it is 200%. So not disclosing is much better than disclosing it. Now for filing the annual return, we file many returns now. Practically, section 285, if you see, there are 100 times, every businessman has to file certain return. Builder has to say who purchased at more than 30 lakh, TV, car wala, everyone has to file something. So now earlier penalty was very less for that. Now they increase the penalty and they are liable to pay penalty if they don't file return within time. A penalty for furnishing inaccurate statement of financial transaction. Then section 194R. R means when builder give me money, say for example my plot I have given to the builder, he develop, he pay me 100 crore rupees today, and when project is over he will give me the money. So earlier what happened, when builder is giving me 100 crore, he will deduct 10% today itself. So I will get 90 crore in my hand, amount money I have to pay tax in hand. Now in my 26A's return it will appear today. I am not claiming the TDS. I am claiming in the end when project will be ready, when I offer for the purpose of tax. Then lot of complications are there. It is not appearing in 26A's of that year. I don't allow, litigation goes on, so they are simplified. You can claim even now or that time whatever you want. ATG, donation, charitable trust means what happened? I collect the donation as a corpus of the trust. Other party claim deduction in ATG. I don't have to spend. And again I give that donation to somebody else as a corpus. So to reduce such thing, they said you to really use the money for the object for which person has given you the money. He is given for building fund, it has to go for building fund. He is given for something, it has to go for something. Calculation of cost of acquisition for intangible asset. Refund to SSE. Now more simplification, when the interest is delayed, refund is due and delayed, they are supposed to pay you interest. And they made more strict provision for department. Then friends, let us come to the general provision. New tax regime applicable to individual HUF, individual HUF AOP other than cooperative bank, body of individual also, except this old system will apply in case they don't opt for the new. Individual rate of tax has gone down. Commissioner appeal, faceless have many pending appeals. Even as on today, more than 6 lakh appeals are pending. So 100 joint commissioner also will be given charge to decide those appeals. Guideline will be given, what decision they will take. They may take appeal where amount involved is less than 10 lakh or whatever. And this joint commissioner system was there earlier also. I remember 1985, before 1985, not joint commissioner, that time used to call appellate assistant commissioner. And small matter used to go to appellate assistant commissioner, big matter you go to commissioner of appeal. Now after that, appellate assistant commissioner removed. So again now brought joint commissioner, and they will also work. Guideline will be given actually what type of case will come. And to make the faceless assessment simple, they amended 5 sections where earlier some complications were there, like 135A, 245MA, 245R, 250, 275. I will not go into detail of that section, but end I can say that faceless assessment and faceless appeal have done a miracle. Corruption of income tax department have reduced 100%. Because I remember my guru D.M. Harish, so of course he passed away in 98. Whenever budget speech you to give, he always used to say one thing: let make this income tax officer accountable. The moment officer become accountable, everything will sort out automatically. Because they used to make, I remember one order, officer made 29 type of addition involving more than 50 crore rupee. I filed appeal before the commissioner. The commissioner deleted all the ground. 100% relief was given. All 29 grounds. Department not file appeal before the tribunal. But income tax department given him best assessment order award in function of 2000%. So that was the quality of work. So now at least I see accountability have come, corruption have reduced, everything is faceless, and from 1 April 2024, even tribunal will become faceless. Thank you very much.
We'll have a quick Q&A session with Vimal ji and all of them. Keep your question very short, please. Only question.
We had 2 bullet trains running simultaneously. It was really good. Punmiya sir, 2 questions, very relative. When you discussed 5 lakhs of money being paid as premium, correct? 5 लाख रुपए का जब प्रीमियम हम पे करते हैं, मे बी टर्म इंश्योरेंस के लिए मैं पे करता हूँ, तो दैट इज अंडर सेक्शन 80D प्लस 80C प्लस GST ऑल इंक्लूसिव और ओनली वन ऑफ देम और एवरीथिंग ओके फेयर इनफ. एंड अगर मेरी प्रॉपर्टी का पोजीशन मुझे मई 20th को मिल रहा है, मई 20th 2023, और वो कॉर्पस देना बाकी है, कॉर्पस मुझे आ जाता है और रजिस्ट्री अभी बाकी है, तो रजिस्ट्री में मैं 3 नाम डाल के 3 में डिवाइड कर सकता हूँ?
रजिस्ट्री बाकी है, लेकिन पहले टेनेंट थे, आप ओनर थे?
हाँ ओनर थे,
पहले ओनर थे. हाँ. एक ही नाम पे थे?
हाँ 2 नाम पे थे.
2 नाम पे थे, अभी तीसरा ऐड करना है. करेक्ट. तो पहले उसको गिफ्ट करना पड़ेगा आपको 1/3.
अच्छा,
गिफ्ट करेंगे तो रिलेटिव है, जिसको करेंगे तो 1% स्टाम्प ड्यूटी आएगी.
ओके.
200 रुपया रजिस्ट्रेशन फीस आएगी. राइट. और गिफ्ट से पूरा होने से 3 ओनर हो जाएंगे. राइट. तो अर्लियर ओनर का जो कॉस्ट होगा वो उसका कॉस्ट भी गिना जाएगा. ओके. अर्लियर ओनर की डेट ऑफ एक्विजिशन उसकी गिनी जाएगी, तो लॉन्ग टर्म हो जाएगा. करेक्ट. फिर आपको कॉर्पस मिलेगा तीनों मामले से. ओके. और कॉर्पस में वैसे भी टैक्स है ही नहीं अभी, हार्डशिप अलाउंस कॉर्पस सब फ्री है.
रजिस्ट्री ये साल में करें?
एक्चुअली कॉर्पस हमने गलत रिड्यूस किया, हार्डशिप होगा वहाँ पे.
हाँ हार्डशिप
होगा.
करेक्ट. तो रजिस्ट्री इस साल करें कि फाइनेंशियल नेक्स्ट?
आपने गिफ्ट कर दिया पूरा?
नहीं अभी तक नहीं है.
तो पहला गिफ्ट इस साल कर दो, डील नेक्स्ट ईयर कर दो. ऐसा
ठीक है, डन. Great, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, anybody else? Just this mic. Hello. Pass on the mic to here on the second line, please. Yeah. And sir, then last
there
one
is a question.
Last this gentleman. Yeah.
जो प्रोविजन है 5 लाख का इंश्योरेंस में, अभी उसपे जो ट्रेडिशनल प्लान्स आर देयर वेयर फ्रॉम द नेक्स्ट ईयर या इवन फ्रॉम नेक्स्ट मंथ मनी बैक स्टार्ट टैक्स फ्री, so on that tax will be there or?
99% my view is there. Whatever money you invested to 31st March 2023 and whenever you get refund, not.
No.
Whatever you invest after 1st April, yes, taxable.
After April, if I invest, correct. And from May month start, plans are there where it is a tax-free, guaranteed return comes. On maturity, I understand कि वो taxable होगा.
Maturity पे होगा ना.
लेकिन ये जो आएगा वो भी टैक्स लगेगा.
प्रिंसिपल पे लगेगा क्या, ये पूछ रहे हैं?
प्रिंसिपल हाँ, वो इट्स अ मनी बैक बट इट्स अ टैक्स फ्री, इट्स नॉट अ पेंशन, नॉट अ एन्युटी.
इनकम पे लगेगा, बाकी किस पे नहीं लगेगा. एक्स्ट्रा इनकम जो टैक्सेबल पार्ट का इनकम आएगा उस पे लगेगा.
एंड एक क्वेश्चन मुझे ये तुलसियान जी से पूछना था. व्हाट इज द फ्यूचर फॉर अदानी ग्रुप?
व्हाट इज द फ्यूचर ऑफ अडानी ग्रुप? फ्रॉम द माउथ ऑफ तुलसियान जी.
आप आई डोंट नो आप किस हिसाब से पूछ रहे हैं, इन्वेस्टर के हिसाब से पूछ रहे हैं या फिर बिकॉज अगर
इन्वेस्टर के हिसाब से
मैं ऐसे बताता हूँ जिस
इन्वेस्टर के हिसाब
जिस आदमी ने इतना इन्वेस्टमेंट किया, टेक फॉर इंस्टेंस इज अंबुजा सीमेंट एक्विजिशन इज एक्वायर्ड फॉर 50,000 crore. कंपनी में कोई डेट नहीं है, 1 रुपए का भी 10,000 करोड़ का कैश है, फिर भी हम लोग बोलते हैं नहीं कंपनी में तो डेस्क का कंसर्न है। कोई एक आदमी आके बोलता है मेरे हाथ में देखो सांप है, और रस्सी कोई नहीं पकड़ रखा, फिर भी हम उसको सांप मानते हैं। तो सवाल अपने परसेप्शन है कि हाउ मच वी रिलाई ऑन दैट पर्टिकुलर थिंग, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, अडानी एंटरप्राइज है। अडानी एंटरप्राइज से जितने भी कंपनी उन्होंने निकाली है, अडानी विल्मर, अडानी ग्रीन, अडानी, सब में उन्होंने दे आर द ओनली ग्रुप हैविंग गिवन द सेम सेट ऑफ शेयर होल्डर्स टू द पब्लिक। बाकी सब लोग क्या करते हैं, इन्वेस्टमेंट कंपनी बनाते हैं, होल्डिंग कंपनी होल्ड करते हैं। अंबुजा जैसे अल्ट्राटेक में 65% स्टेक इज हेल्ड बाय ग्रासिम। अब ग्रासिम का भी वैल्यूएशन खराब कर रखा है, अल्ट्राटेक का भी खराब कर रहा है। तो कम से कम दिस वाज द ओनली ग्रुप हु हैज गिवन सेम सेट ऑफ शेयर होल्डिंग टू ऑल द शेयर होल्डर्स, नॉन पब्लिक शेयर होल्डर ऑफ द डिफरेंट, थोड़ा कीपिंग देम इन द होल्डिंग। वो अपने आप में एक बहुत बड़ा मूव है। इसी जगह पर अडानी पोर्ट देखो, डेट इक्विटी रेशियो कितना है, 0.8 का, जबकि इतनी बड़ी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर कंपनी में डेट इक्विटी रेशियो ऑफ 2.7 इज अलाउड, 2.7 to 2.5 to 2.3, 2.5 to 3x इज अलाउड। तो 2.5 to 3 की जगह इसका 0.9 है, 0.88 टू बी प्रिसाइज एज ऑन 30 सितंबर। तो अगर आपको सिलेक्ट कॉल लेना है और आप बोलो अडानी ग्रीन एनर्जी क्या है, अडानी उसमें ट्रांसमिशन में क्या है, तो दे आर डेफिनेटली लिटिल एक्सपेंसिव, बट आई वोंट बी generalizing the Adani group. I will be taking the positive call on these 4 stocks: is Ambuja Cement, Adani Enterprise, Adani Port, and all.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Question on income tax to Punmiya ji. Sir, आपने कहा था कि काफी डीमिंग प्रोविजंस में जहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट ने बोला है, if amount is not received, then only it will be taxable.
No, amount is received.
Amount is received, then only it will be taxable. But there are many deeming provisions.
किस टाइप की बात कर रहे हैं?
अभी ये जैसे कि शेयर्स का है, 0.5% ऑन कैपिटल इन्वेस्टमेंट एक्सपेंडिचर डीमिंग डिसअलाउ करते हैं, वो तो कभी रिसिप्ट होगा ही नहीं, तो क्या वो नल एंड वॉइड हो जाएंगे?
हाँ, तुझे भी मिलेगा लगेगा, टैक्स नहीं मिलेगा, मजा करो।
क्योंकि एक्चुअली फिर वो बेसलेस ही हो जाएंगे इफेक्टिवली।
जो भी अमेंडमेंट है, क्योंकि पहले आईटीओ लगा देता था, नहीं आपको नहीं मिला तो भी लगा देता था।
इनकम,
यस,
now according to him and according to the budget provisions,
yes,
will become income only when it is received.
yes.
So if it is not receivable, I think even that also.
Yes, yes. जैसे कि
लगेगा ही नहीं।
2 घर से ज्यादा डीम रेंट वगैरह वो कभी रिसीव होगा ही नहीं।
Anybody else? One last question.
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Namaskar. It was a beautiful session. I thank you for this. A very small question. What is there in this budget as far as mining sector is concerned?
Mining sector is concerned. तुलसियान जी और आनंद जी, माइनिंग सेक्टर,
माइनिंग सेक्टर में क्या मतलब किस को देखने जाते हैं आप? माइनिंग, the companies which are catering to mining sector are really seen to be, we mentioned the name of AIA Engineering. If you see the kind of they make, you know, AIA Engineering is making the grinding media. सीमेंट के प्लांट में लगता है, कोल में जो तो क्रश करते हैं, ग्राइंडिंग बॉल बनाते हैं, वो है। फिर सोलर इंडस्ट्रीज है, हु मेक द एक्सप्लोजिव्स फॉर माइनिंग इंडस्ट्री। दे हैव ट्रिमेंडस फ्यूचर, बिकॉज माइनिंग इंडस्ट्री जिस हिसाब से कोल में, कॉपर में और जो आयरन स्टील में, बॉक्साइट में जो हो रहा है, दैट इज फिनोमिनल। सो इनफैक्ट उतने प्लेयर है नहीं, एंड दीज ऑल कंपनीज लाइक सोलर इंडस्ट्रीज एंड एआई इंडस्ट्रीज, दे हैव डेवलप्ड द टेक्नोलॉजी, इंडिजिनस टेक्नोलॉजी, तो इम्पोर्ट करने की जरूरत नहीं होती। So they have very good future, and that's the reason. In fact, if you see their performance, the growth has been tremendous. 30% growth in profit, top line and bottom line. So if you have that kind of performance, definitely very, very.
Yes, last anybody? एक मिनट माइक दो ना, last question.
Hello.
Yeah,
sir.
जब तक माइक आता है,
only one question on perquisite.
Sir, मेरा एक question.
Only one question, please.
Only one question on perquisite. Actually,
yes.
Some bank or financial institutions are giving some concessional rate loans to their employees, and now the employer is, taxing as a deemed perquisite while calculation of income tax. So, do you mean that from this financial year it will be cancelled?
See, loan taken from employer or bank?
Rate of interest. They are giving to employee as a concessional rate of interest. So,
ये बजट में तो कुछ ऐसा आइटम नहीं है। ये बजट में ऐसा कोई अमेंडमेंट
आपका पूछे लास्ट।
सर, अभी जो न्यू रिजीम आया है और एक ओल्ड रिजीम है, पुनमिया जी उधर पुनमिया जी।
हाँ सर,
अभी जो न्यू रिजीम है उसमें 7 लाख का लिमिट किया है गवर्नमेंट ने। ओल्ड रिजीम में जो है ना, वो अगर कोई आदमी जाता है अभी, तो उसको जो स्लैब है, अभी न्यू रिजीम का स्लैब अलग हुआ है, ओल्ड रिजीम का स्लैब अलग था। तो ओल्ड रिजीम में अभी भी ओल्ड स्लैब रहेगा या न्यू स्लैब एप्लीकेबल होगा?
ओल्ड स्लैब। अगर आप न्यू रिजीम में जाएंगे तो न्यू वाला लगेगा सब कुछ,
और ओल्ड स्लैब में रहूंगा तो
ओल्ड वाला लगेगा,
वो पुराना ही लगेगा, उसमें स्लैब भी पुराना ही लगेगा।
थैंक यू वेरी मच पुनमिया जी, थैंक्स अ लॉट फॉर योर प्रोविजन. I request our Secretary General, Shri Rajendra ji, to propose vote of thanks. But before that, I have a special vote of thanks for Choice Group, who have been helping us. Sunil ji is no more with us today, unfortunately, but his representative has come, Rathiraj ji Tibrewal. Thank you very much for having graced this occasion. Thank you. Now Rajendra ji will be.
धन्यवाद। प्रत्येक कार्यक्रम की औपचारिकता का निर्वहन कार्यक्रम का महत्वपूर्ण पड़ाव है। मैं उपस्थित हूँ आज के कार्यक्रम में आभार प्रदर्शन हेतु। सर्वप्रथम मैं आभार एवं धन्यवाद देता हूँ पूरी IVF कम्युनिटी की तरफ से हमारे अतिथि श्री S.S. मुंद्रा जी, सम्मानीय अतिथि श्री सुंदरामन राममूर्ति जी, जो कि अभी नहीं यहाँ उपस्थित नहीं है, जिन्होंने आज इतने महत्वपूर्ण दिवस पर अपना समय देकर हमको मार्गदर्शन दिया और यहाँ उपस्थित रहे। मैं हृदयपूर्वक आभारी हूँ श्री तुलसियान जी, श्री पूनमिया जी, श्री आनंद जी राठी, जिन्होंने प्रतिवर्ष की तरह बजट विश्लेषण हेतु अपनी स्वीकृति प्रदान की एवं यहाँ अपनी शैली में बजट विशेषताओं को आपके समक्ष रखा। मुझे उम्मीद है आगे भी आपका इसी प्रकार हमें समय एवं मार्गदर्शन मिलता रहेगा। उदार मना चॉइस इंटरनेशनल प्रबंधन का भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। निरंतर कई वर्षों से आप हमारे प्रायोजक हैं। श्री रतिराज जी टिब्रेवाल, आप चॉइस से यहाँ उपस्थित हैं, आपका भी बहुत बहुत आभार। BSE प्रबंधन एवं समस्त स्टाफ जिन्होंने आज ये सभागृह उपलब्ध करवाया एवं इस कार्यक्रम में अपना सहयोग प्रदान किया, आप सभी का धन्यवाद और आभार। हमारे अपने श्री अशोक जी अजमेरा इस प्रकल्प को कई सालों से वो लीड करते आ रहे हैं। आपको इस सफल आयोजन हेतु हार्दिक बधाई और धन्यवाद। सभी सदस्य समाज बंधुओं का भी हार्दिक आभार जिन्होंने यहाँ उपस्थित होकर इस कार्यक्रम को सफल बनाया, और आप सभी का बहुत बहुत आभार जिन्होंने इतनी बड़ी संख्या में यहाँ आज आकर इस कार्यक्रम में भाग लिया और बनाया। मैं अंत में प्रत्यक्ष अप्रत्यक्ष जिनका भी हमें आज इस कार्यक्रम में सहयोग मिला है उन सबका आभार प्रकट करता हूँ। विशेषतः हमारे कैटरर्स जयकर जी का, जिन्होंने आज आपके लिए डिनर उपलब्ध करवाया है। धन्यवाद, धन्यवाद।
Thank you. You can all have dinner there. Kindly maintain, please, little discipline because everybody is getting together and there are more than 300-400 people. Please. Thank you. Thank you very much.